Imagine the implications of a weapon with no visible trace, a weapon that could knock out tanks, ships, and planes as fast as the speed of light. The same technology with modifications could disorient and even tranquilize military personnel, rendering them virtually helpless in the battle zone. These are the new weapons of war we will examine in this series.
The cognitive processes of the human brain are really quite simple. And if you understand how they work, you can make entire populations think and decide the manner in which you wish.
Many experts are skeptical of such an Orwellian scenario, but Persinger thinks the implications are chillingly real.
Suppose you generate a field that produces fear, fundamental fear, in large numbers of people. And then over the television, more traditional ways, you say, the reason we're having this fear is because of this particular group. And now you start to move the population believing in a direction that you wish.
To influence 250 million people, the equivalent of the entire population of the United States, may not be that difficult. According to Dr. Persinger, we already have the technology, satellites and television and radio transmitters. Mind control may already be happening.
A dark new frontier is opening in the world of warfare. Experts warn that tomorrow's battlefield could be the human mind itself. Now scientists are sounding the alarm over a chilling rise in brain weapons. The premise is scary, a substance that hijacks your thoughts, scrambles your memories, or forces unwanted emotions into your head. This isn't a story from the future. Top British scientists have revealed that the so-called brain weapons, chemicals, and technologies designed to alter perception, behavior, or even decision-making are no longer just the stuff of science fiction.
What is up, regular offenders? It is me, Ardy, once again coming at you with your latest installment of unwatchable content. And in today's video, no one is going to watch. We are talking about brain weapons and the fact that in recent days and weeks there has been some articles and interest and concern raised on the internet concerning the endless and disturbing possibilities that this technology could be used for. Now, this is actually a follow-up from my recent upload, Artificial Intelligence is Reading Your Thoughts, and most of the content today is some of the stuff that didn't make it into that presentation, which was particularly long, although not really by NoOneWatchesArDee standards, but I am trying to sort of reduce a little bit of the time restraints on these videos and sort of try to make it a little bit more digestible and a little less overwhelming, as sometimes it can be with the amount of information that there is available on these particular topics that I cover on this channel. You know, that you sort of need more hours than the hours that I do provide with the information on to sort of provide all of the information, and no one can truly know everything about everything, but it is very wise and smart, in my opinion, to have as much knowledge about as much as you can to be able to sort of give yourself the ability to make a self-assessment if or not you should be concerned, or if or not this is just a whole lot of hot air. And you know, when I sort of do go into these sort of presentations, I do tend to think of them as though I am presenting a case to a judge and jury, and do try to find as much evidence from as many sort of witnesses, if you like, to provide testimony on my behalf. So you're not just taking my word for it. I do try to provide you with as much sort of reliable information as I possibly can on this topic. Now, why I find this very important, this is nothing new, you know, on this channel. Many of you long-term regular offenders will be thinking, oh my god, Ardy, you're not going on about this again, are you? And yes, I am. And why I'm going on about it is because in recent weeks this has been acknowledged as being a real thing. It exists. This technology is used. It's patented. Many of the most popular internet companies and organizations on the planet have patented mind control technology. This isn't science fiction anymore. This isn't conspiracy anymore. This isn't the stuff of tinfoil hat wearers dwelling in basements reporting on doom and gloom and the government's out to get you, they're doing this, they're beaming frequencies into your mind. This is actual fact, and it is a very real part of the reality in which we live in, and how much this is ordering and decepting us from the reality that we live in. We can only wonder and probably never truly fathom the capabilities of this technology and what it can do to us, and something that each and every person on the planet owns, or at least has access to, is a cellular smart device, be it an iPhone, an Android, or an iPad or a tablet. And if you don't have one of your own, you will usually more than likely have access to these devices. And again, in this tonight's presentation, we are going to be looking at some patents which pretty much speak of, without saying it's cell phones, devices that sound an awfully lot of like cell phones, containing this technology and possessing this technology and being able to use it in the ways that we are going to discover in this theme, this evening's presentation, and we have already established in previous presentations on this channel that these smart devices that we use to communicate, watch YouTube, tune into Netflix, stay in touch with our loved ones. These are weapons, folks. These are not designed to keep us in touch. These are not designed to keep us informed. They are designed to keep us in touch. They are in check, I should say. They are designed to control us, and they are controlling us. There isn't a person alive, I don't think. I mean, there probably is, but the majority of people, I use that sort of as exaggerated simile. There isn't many people on the planet, I should more accurately say, that do not own a device and do not walk around with it in their hand or in their very, very close proximity or on their person at any given minute of the day. And as I said, these devices are designed to destroy our minds. Mimetic warfare was not about providing us with memes and short form videos to entertain us. It was designed to rot our brains. It was designed purposely to be addictive, to keep us on our devices that in turn were bombarding our brains with all sorts of frequency and damaging radio frequencies that have had a very, 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 very disturbing effect on society, and we have looked at some of those disturbing effects in previous videos. One of the most notable one was another recent upload, a dopamine dependency. Please go and check that out, because all of these videos recently, with the exception of the sort of Cloud Atlas and British bum fungus in the subclade K, all the sort of AI mimetic stuff, dopamine addiction, digital dependency, this is all connected. So what they need to do is provide us with the source of entertainment to keep us on our devices, and the longer we're on our devices, the more impact and effect the devices can have on our brain. It's working hand in hand to control us, inform us into what they want us to be, which is docile robots that don't sort of question or think or have any sort of ability to comprehend anything other than what we are force-fed. And the final aim of mimetic warfare, and why mimetic warfare has become the warfare of modern times, is it is a lot more cost-effective and effective than conventional wars, unlike sort of bullets and bombs, cruise missiles, helicopters, jet fighters, warships, aircraft carriers. All of this stuff costs billions and billions, if not trillions of dollars, whereas practically, if you've got a decent computer program and some nice software, you can create this stuff pretty much for free. And rather than destroying a enemy physically, physically destroying them mentally and changing the way they behave, changing the way they think, and pushing them towards digital compliance is a far greater achievement than a conventional war with bombs and bullets and such forth. And as I've mentioned many times before, there's a reason the United States of America allows its citizens to own firearms, because they're not a threat to the United States of America government or its military might, which is the most sophisticated, highly armed, highly advanced, technologically superior military force on the planet. So any sort of civilian versus military civil war within the United States would be a very, very bloody, costly and destructive campaign, and eventually both sides would mutually assure destruction, destroy the infrastructure and the very thing that they were fighting for. Whereas a mimetic campaign, there's no conflict, there's no bullets, there's no bombs, there's no real damage to the things that you're trying to fight for. And this is how they are achieving it, guys. They are doing it via the devices that we are all connected to it, and they are doing it using the entertainment that we consume on these devices. And now we are hearing that this technology isn't no longer science fiction, no longer conspiracy theory. The time for alarm has long passed. It's gone, it's happened, it's already happening. They keep telling us this could be used for nefarious purposes. It has been used for nefarious purposes for at least the dawn of smart technology. So with that being said, guys, let's get over to our first article of the day. And as always, we've got some articles, some videos, some patterns, and possibly a PDF or two to get through in this evening's situation. So I will see you on the outro and hand you over to the first article of the day. So first up this evening, folks, we are at the New York Post from an article that came out on November 24th, 2025, just a few days ago at the time of recording. And as you will find, there has been a trend in similarly themed articles over the last 6 days. But as I've already stated, this is nothing new, but it is suddenly becoming more publicly aware and mentioned on an awful lot of outlets and platforms that are now making it known that medical advances could be used to develop mind-altering brain weapons. Scientists warn wake-up call. Again, you're sort of making this article sound as though this is brand new technology. But the mind really is a battlefield. Advances in neurological medicine might seem like a boon to humanity. However, UK scientists are warning that the tech could also be used to develop brain weapons. And I'm going to go as far as to say, before we get any more further into this article, that this technology has been designed purposely to be brain weapons, and they are using the secondary purpose. It could be used for medical benefits as the selling point for this technology. But this tech could also be used to develop brain weapons that can alter human consciousness, perception, or even behavior. This apocalyptic wake-up call was floated in the book Preventing the Weaponization of CNS-Acting Chemicals, a Holistic Arms Control Analyst, by researchers Michael Crowley and Malcolm Dando. I wonder if he's any relation of Jill Dando. Some of my UK-based viewers will know who she is. What's happened to the article? Where's it gone? Oh, there you go. I forgot to press click more. There is a very tiny little microchip there, not what all that is about. I think it says it is the tools to manipulate the central nervous system to sedate, confuse, and even coerce, and becoming more precise, more accessible, and more attractive to states, Crowley said. I don't know if that is a quote about the photo, but Dando, sorry about that, guys. Dando, who is a biological and weapons control expert, said the same knowledge that helps us treat neurological disorders could be used to disrupt cognition and introduce compliance per a release university. Now, some of you may be familiar with the mimetic narrative that was provided to the controlled opposition during the pandemic of don't comply, non-compliance. Well, you know, in an arrest scenario, telling a police officer that you do not comply is only going to be classified as resisting arrest and possibly obstruction of law. It's not going to get you out of trouble, and you can non-comply your way out of what is in store for us, folks. But it could even be used in the future to turn people into unwitting agents, like something out of a dystopian thriller, he argued. MK Ultra, Manchurian Candidates, these are all things, ancient history now, really, although not really that ancient, but ancient enough to be over 50 years ago, let's put it that way. But what might sound like science fiction, and that'd be a popular narrative that we will hear in some of these articles, could become science fact. It is science fact. I just showed you in my recent stream, Artificial Intelligence is Reading Your Mind, that it is a fact. Stop sort of acting like this is something that is going to be rather than something that is happening. But this is going to become science fact, according to Crowley, an honorary visiting senior research fellow at Bradford's Peace Studies and International Development Division. And what international development is all about. But he claimed that humanity entered a new age of warfare. Yes, that's right, folks. We're in the age of mimetic warfare. Keep telling you about this, but nobody listens. But where the brain itself could become the battlefield. I actually have a video from a few years ago called Silent Weapons, spelled PSY. Your mind is the battlefield, where we looked at very similar to the technology as that we are looking to today, and also probably threw in a patent or two, as well as some videos to support that theory. But that is already content that I have provided. Let's get back to the content I am currently providing. But the brain itself could become the battlefield due to the increased ubiquity and sophistication of pharmaceutically induced mind control. The tools to manipulate the central nervous system to sedate, confuse, or even coerce are becoming more precise, more accessible, and more attractive to states, Crowley said. To highlight the dangers of this weaponization of the brain, Dando and Crowley traced the history of central nervous system, CNS, acting chemicals, which were notably developed by China, the United States, and Russia during the 50s and 60s. Their goal to incapacite the enemy by inducing loss of consciousness, paralysis, sedation, and other effects like synthetic cordyceps, said Corley. And mimetic warfare is designed to make the enemy behave how you want them to behave through a series of coordinated and targeted mimetics. There you go. But again, information I've provided literally hours and hours and hours on, as well as all the irrefutable evidence you could possibly need to tell you that memes are weaponized. But we're talking about brain weapons today, not mimetic weapons, but it's all connected, and they need the memes to keep us connected to the devices that then can beam the frequencies into our brain to manipulate it into doing whatever they want us to do. But infamous experiments include the US development of the BZ, a chemical weapon that could cause delirium and hallucinations. While this hallucinogen was intended for use in Vietnam, it was allegedly tested on soldiers. There's no evidence that the agent was ever deployed. Is there more? Yes, there is. However, the only instance of a large-scale CNS acting chemical use occurred in 2002 during the Moscow theater siege, when Russian security forces used fentanyl derivatives against Chechen militants that had taken 900 theater goers hostage. And quite a lot of those theater goers ended up dying, controversially. But look at that. They were back in 2002. They were using fentanyl against terrorists. Now it's on the streets of almost every major city in North America, and like people are dropping dead from using it in many of those streets throughout the United States of America. But unfortunately, the plan had some unfortunate collateral effects. While most of the hostages were rescued, 120 died in the chemical attack, while an unspecified number suffered from long-term complications or premature death. Now, neuroscientists are making major studies in understanding how the brain's survival circuits, neural pathways that control fear, sleep, aggression, and decision-making, comprehended this neural circuitry is essential to the treatment of brain disorders, but it could also pave the way for more precise and potent neurological weapons. The issue has become so dire that Dando and Crowley are traveling to The Hague and the Netherlands this weekend for a key meeting of the Conference of the States Parties, an international body that oversees the implementation of chemical weapons convention. You know, these weapons don't fall under chemical weapons because they are technological, they are frequency based, there's no chemicals involved. But the duo pointed out that while the convention prohibits the use of chemical weapons in war, there is a loophole that might permit their use in other sectors like law enforcement. This oversight could potentially allow bad actors to exploit mind-altering substances under the scope of law. There are dangerous regulatory gaps within and between these treaties, said Crowley, but unless they are closed, we fear certain states may be emboldened to exploit them in a dedicated CNS and broader incapacitating agent weapons programs. To safeguard against this possibility, Dando and Crowley propose a multi-pronged holistic arms control approach. The campaign entails involving multiple layers of governance, including international human rights law, humanitarian law, UN drug conventions, medical ethics, and the codes of conduct of scientific professional bodies per their release. They would be responsible for updating treaty definitions and protocols to reflect new scientific studies on CNS acting agents and making ethics training an integral part of neuroscience and chemical science education. What do you think? Post a comment. That's what the article said. But yeah, post a comment. Let me know if you're watching live as the premiere. If you're watching live, drop a comment in the chat right now. If you're watching after the fact, then please leave me a comment what you think about these brain weapons in the comments below. So without further ado, guys, let's head over to our next article. So next up, we have another article for you folks from MSN.com from 5 days ago, and it starts out by saying, scientists sound alarm on mind manipulating brain weapons of the future. And it's by somebody's whose name I can't read, so I won't even try. And there's a nice little picture. It could almost be a thumbnail background. Maybe, we'll see. But mind control technology might sound like a plot straight out of Black Mirror. And there we are going with from a plot from science fiction. But scientists warn that it's becoming disturbingly real. In a new book, Dr. Michael Crowley and Professor Malcolm Dando, who we heard from in the previous article, and we're not going to get too much into these articles, but I will show you that many of the articles in the recent last few days are all pretty much the same and all feature these two individuals, Michael Crowley and Malcolm Dando, and these are the scientists that are sort of leading the charge, I guess, in raising awareness towards this technology. Although they're probably controlled opposition, somebody does need to raise awareness to this. But then, we know they're from Bradford University. We heard about their credentials in the previous one. But according to Professor Dando, the same breakthroughs used to treat neurological disorders could be used to disrupt cognition, including compliance, or turn people into unwitting agents. Their warning is clear: the human brain itself may soon become a battlefield. We've heard that before. We'll watch that video after. I'll come back to that. But the dark history from hallucination gas to neurosis guns, brain targeting weapons are not new. No, they're not. As I said, something I've spoken about many times before. Lots of information on this topic on this channel. But during the Cold War, major powers raced to create chemicals that could incapacitate, confuse, or sedate large crowds. The US developed BZ, a delirium including a compound capable of causing extreme hallucinations, producing 600,000 kilograms of it, enough to fill a specialized 750-pound cluster bomb. China followed with a narcosis gun that fires drug-filled syringes. The only confirmed combat use of a central nervous system weapon came in 2002 when Russian forces deployed fentanyl-based gas to end the Moscow theater hostage siege, as we heard before. A new frontier of precision brain manipulations, but today's danger is far more sophisticated. Modern neuroscience allows researchers to map severe survival circuits, the brain pathways controlling fear, aggression, sleep, and decision-making. The same knowledge used to treat PTSD, epilepsy, or anxiety could, in the wrong hands, be used to manipulate emotions, erase memories, or impair judgment with terrifying precision. Crowley and Dando argue that these technologies sit in a legal grey zone. Chemical weapons are banned in war, but many CNS-acting chemicals remain allowed for law enforcement purposes, leaving loopholes that ambitious states could exploit. Now, they're off to The Hague, as we already heard, and that is that article there. But let me come and click out and let's show you some of the results on Google that is coming up recently and not so recently. So right above we have an article from the Tampa Bay Times. What are neurostrike weapons, and is Haley right? China is the largest developer of neurostrike weapons engineered to change the brain. I'll come back to some China neurostrike a little bit later. The National Security Archive, just going to click on this. This isn't recent. I believe this was possibly a year or two ago. Yeah, 2022, I believe. But this is all about the Soviet plot to beam the US Embassy in Havana with brain weapons, electromagnetic frequency technology, what will come to be known as the Havana syndrome. Once, talking about weapons and technology that could use frequencies to order your brain was the stuff that could possibly get you locked up, and was the stuff that termed the phrase tinfoil hat. There's a X post there, mind-altering brain weapons, no longer only science fiction. Instagram, researchers causing that mind-altering technology exists. Scientific American, this is from last year, 2024. Soviet era pseudoscience lurks behind Havana syndrome. Lots of interesting stuff in here. I've got videos on the Havana syndrome, Russian technology, American technology, and this isn't new. But at the moment they're sort of making it out as though like this technology does exist, but it isn't being used yet, when for probably longer than we realize it has been used. Defense One, here's what's inside the brain weapons did to this is what invisible brain weapons did to US personnel, and that is again about the Havana syndrome, that incident in Cuba. Scientists warn of emerging brain weapons technology 8 days ago. 4 days ago, mind-altering brain weapons no longer only science fiction. Facebook look 4 days ago. Neuro weapon that threat looms. The chilling rise of Rain, we won't click on that one. SME Science, 6 days ago, we're entering an age of brain weapons and the world isn't ready. Again, this is from Dando and Crowley. New research warns of chemical weapons that can manipulate consciousness and demands global regulation. Now, some of these articles recently also seem to sort of use gas masks in them, and that's possibly because they've all been generated by AI, and possibly all of these articles, although they say they're from different publications, are all owned by the same conglomerate. But according to a startling new analysis by British security expert, we are rapidly approaching a reality where the biology of our own brains can be weaponized against us. The era of the brain weapon has arrived. Knowledge of the era of the brain weapon has arrived. The brain weapon has been around a long time, folks, as we will discover as we get more into this. So I'm not gonna, just as the international community is not prepared, but basically this article, like many of the ones in the last week or a few days, as you can see here, are all talking about these scientists. Look, scientists issue disturbing warning about brain weapons that could alter perception and reality. Once what seemed like science fiction, yada yada, whoop-de-woo, ray-tay-tay, Dr. Crowley, Professor Dando, yeah, we've heard it before. So, a lot of these are repeating from the same script, and a lie repeated often enough is accepted the truth, except this technology does exist. I think the lie they're trying to sell here is that it isn't being used yet, that it's still in the future and we've got some time to prepare for ourselves. But all of these sort of psychological operations require a deliverer of the message, or some cases we need a whistleblower, as is the case with sort of what's going on with UFOs recently, with whistleblowers going before Congress in Supreme Court in declaring that they've seen all sorts of things. So let's just come over to the news section. Scientists issue a disturbing warning about Gazeta Express, The Guardian, mind-altering brain weapons, no longer only science fiction. Week ago, scientists warn of emergence. So you can see the pattern, folks. There's the New York Post that we read to start out. There's that ZME Science one with the gas masks. 5 days ago, advanced neurotech brain weapons, how a Soviet plot to beam the US embassy. Here is one we're going to come back to here at the moment about China and their claims that they are producing brain disrupting weapons. What do they call them again? I've forgotten already. Maybe I'm being beamed as we speak, but yeah, we might come back to that one if I have time. So I did say we were gonna go and watch a video, which we will do once we've had a little look at AI. Let's go and see AI, what it says. Brain weapons there, look. Searching brain weapons or neuro weapons are chemical and neurotechnology tools capable of ordering human consciousness, perception, memory, or behavior. The term refers to an emerging threat that scientists warn is becoming a reality, moving from the realm of science fiction into fact. And it is fact, guys, this technology exists. We heard about this existing a few years ago when they declared the Havana syndrome was a real thing. Recent warnings, the concept has been hidden. Again, they're using Michael Crowley and Dando, because what the AI does is just scan the most popular and or most recent articles and compile what we are now reading. But the dual use, and everything has a dual purpose, and anything that is sort of said that is for our benefit or for society's safety is often weaponized in disguise. But dual use dilemma, the researchers warn that breakthroughs indeed for treating these disorders could be weaponized, as we already know. Potential uses, the goal of these advanced central nervous system weapons could be incapacitate enemies by causing loss of consciousness, sedation or hallucinations. This is Project Bluebeam, folks. I know Project Bluebeam, people do tend to think, or when people hear Project Bluebeam, they tend to go directly and automatically to, holographic aliens, which, yeah, is a very, very small part of Project Bluebeam, but Project Bluebeam is more what we're reading here, what this technology can do to the minds. And the holographic aliens are sort of a supplementary tool or ingredient to Project Bluebeam to sort of convince you what is thoughts are being beamed into individuals' heads. They're also seeing with their eyes. But they've mentioned Moscow historical experiments during a Cold War. The US and other powers explored using these weapons beyond chemicals. The concept extends beyond chemicals to potentially include neurotechnologies that will use directed energy or other means to affect our brain subjects. So that's that, guys. I did say we've got a video to watch, so I might put a couple of videos in for you to break up the articles, and then we are coming back with some patents before looking at maybe some older information regarding this technology that is sort of being passed off as yeah it's real, but they're still not using it yet, and sort of leave it up to you to make of it what you will, if or not you believe that this technology has not been used yet and is still something that is still in the future, or if you want to believe that it has been used for quite some time and is probably being used on each and every one of us right now as we watch. But as I said, mate, folks, make of it what you will. So let's take a little break with some videos, and then we're back with patents.
A chilling warning echoing from the world's top neuroscience labs. Weapons once buried in science fiction are now edging into reality, and the battlefield they target is the human mind itself. What is this all about? Our next report telling you.
A dark new frontier is opening in the world of warfare. Experts warn that tomorrow's battlefield could be the human mind itself. Now scientists are sounding the alarm over a chilling rise in brain weapons. The premise is scary, a substance that hijacks your thoughts, scrambles your memories, or forces unwanted emotions into your head. This isn't a story from the future. Top British scientists have revealed that the so-called brain weapons, chemicals, and technologies designed to alter perception, behavior, or even decision-making are no longer just the stuff of science fiction. The warning is blunt. These mind-meddling weapons are entering the world's arsenal, and current treaties are riddled with loopholes. Experts say that several governments are already discreetly investing in neuromodulation research, cloaked as medical innovation. But experts caution, the line between healing and weaponizing. The brain is razor thin. From Cold War experiments to the infamous Moscow theater siege, several countries have dabbled for decades in chemicals that target the brain. But this decade's tools are different. Advances in neuroscience, synthetic biology, and AI now make it possible to map and manipulate the very circuits that govern fear, compliance, and aggression. The same labs treating neurological disorders today could supply tomorrow's weapons designed to sedate, confuse, or coerce, turning ordinary people into puppets for governments or criminal gangs. Scientists urge action now. Global treaties, strict oversight, and ethical controls before these tools slip into rogue hands. Because once weaponized thought becomes reality, the battlefield won't be cities or borders. It will be your mind. Bureau Report, We on World is one.
March 16th, 2018. The U.S. government's Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, commonly known as DARPA, announces a bold initiative to develop what they call next-generation non-surgical neurotechnology. It is designed to allow the human brain to directly interface with machines.
We know that DARPA is exploring human-machine interfaces that include direct connections between the brain and outside systems. That's been from the beginning of DARPA's information technology mission, and it continues to this day. DARPA has created some of the most influential technologies of all time, things that we use and take for granted every day, including the project that became the internet. They've created self-driving cars, stealth technology, GPS that fits in your pocket. That's DARPA's specialty, to imagine the future and create it.
A new technology that is actually very much on the verge of being a reality that is being fielded is we could have a sensor maybe on the surface of our head, or maybe implanted somewhere in our body, in our brain, or something that allows us to interact directly with our communications gear, our processing gear, our weapon systems, and so on. But now imagine we take that technology and we can control robots at a distance with it. Even fly drones. You put this sensor on and you think the right way, and you can increase the speed of the fan by thinking and controlling that thought with direct-to-mind or mind-machine interfacing. With that type of capability, you could control all sorts of buttons and mechanisms in equipment.
Mind-machine interfaces will have many applications in both civilian and military life. But there are those who believe that this same technology could also be used by DARPA as a new form of mind control. Like their counterparts at the CIA, DARPA-funded researchers have spent decades investigating how the human mind can be altered. In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day.
There are explicit programs of DARPA to read and write to human brains, whether it's through direct implants within the brain or wearing some kind of cap. So these things are being worked on, and we know that.
So what's the next step? Maybe the next step is we can send instructions and information to an actual person from a distance with this kind of technology to let another person control their actions. But that could be something that could be malicious.
If there's some way to do it from a distance, a much greater distance than something that you can wear on your scalp, that would be the ultimate technological achievement that would fall into this realm of mind control and direct human-machine interface that DARPA may well want to keep secret.
In the near future, DARPA may possess the technology to remotely control the human mind. But as concerning as that may be, according to some scientists, a more permanent kind of mind control technology is looming. And it involves modifying the human brain by altering the human body's DNA.
The future of mind control, and the future being right now because these experiments are being done, is using gene editing tools. And one of them would be CRISPR. The way it works is take the CRISPR, which are these short alternating repeats of DNA. You put that together with an enzyme called Cas. And so you take the CRISPR that you want to use, and you put these pieces together that can be injected and insert this DNA to certain areas of the brain so that we can change brain cells and turn you into something you wouldn't otherwise be. So in this way, gene editing technologies like CRISPR really form a definite basis for future mind control.
These are things that DARPA has investigated. Every technology has the potential for good or evil. And who defines what's good and what's evil, and who uses it for what purpose? These are all questions that have been asked about everything from rockets to self-driving vehicles. We still don't have a good handle on the ethics of various technologies that we use. The technologists tend not to be so concerned with the ethics. That seems to be the domain of other people, policymakers, for example, academics, people like this. There needs to be a hand-in-hand interaction with people creating technology and those who are considering the ethics of that technology.
Right, guys, I did say I would be back with patents. Now, this is a very strange website that I have come across called ohchr.org. Not entirely sure if or not this is some governmental hall of records or something like that, a website or an organization that compiles records of things, and this one happens to be a compilation of mind control, brain weapon patents, and you can see how incredibly small the print is. Even my glasses, I can't see a word of what this says. We do have to make it bigger, which we will do. So what we're going to start out is, let's go right the way over to the left hand side and make it as large as we can. Alrighty, hopefully bear with me, this might be difficult to get through. So on the left hand side of your screen you can see a whole bunch of numbers which are US patent numbers, and I will just scroll down. There's only 3 pages, but as you've seen, it's so very finely printed and condensed. Those 3 pages might as well be 300, and you can see here just how many patents. What have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So there are 20 patents there that are all brain, weapons, mind ordering technology stuff with frequencies. And as we go on, there are more and more and more and more patents. So I don't know if this is a list of every single patent, or if this is just a list of relative patents, compiled here. It is a very confusing website. Various frequencies in their effects, use of heart attack, remote weapons, and there's a link there to things. HARP is mentioned there at the bottom, and that is all for that little left side. So we're not going to get too into this, but let me come over. It sort of gives you symptoms. So MK, I guess that is MK Ultra, kind of reprogram the brain. We've got V2K, so I'm pretty sure, and that's voice to K, RVMK. And these are some of the filing dates of these patents, when they were first went into publication, who they were invented by, original assignee. But this is what I wanted to get to, some of the descriptions. So I do have to make it small to be able to read some of these, but pulsative manipulation of central nervous system, method and device for producing a desired brain state via magnetic field, method and device for producing a desired brain state. That's one it's so small it's hard to read. Weapon with integrated targeting system to locate targets, damages, disrupts electronics, biological entities, and physical structures. That would be an interesting one to look at, being able to disrupt physical structures, turn sort of steel into dust perhaps. Remotely transmits intelligible subjective sound into target's consciousness, allows information to be remotely conveyed to a subject via electromagnetic waves, apparatus, a method for remotely monitoring and altering a target's brain waves, subliminal manipulation of subjective emotions via remotely directed audio waves, remote neurological control via sets of low frequency wave beamed at the brain, transmits sound to auditory cortex of mammals via remotely applied microwaves. Remember, humans are mammals. On and on. Let's skip down a little bit. Method of an apparatus for inducing a desired state of consciousness, apparatus for audibly computing communicating speech using radio frequency hearing effect, makes voices emanate from individuals who do not intend or realize it. Ventriloquist effect, putting words into your mouth, folks. They can do that as well by the looks of things, or at least have tinkered with doing that. There is a pattern for that. Remotely calls individual to hear voices. There's a couple of those. Controls brain state by placing engineered AMF patterns into the AC wiring of a building. Induce brain state in a person by adding waves into music file. There you go, music, guys, holds a lot of secrets. Makes voice emanate from an individuals who do not intend to realize it. There's another ventriloquist one there, so there's a couple of ventriloquists being able to make you speak. Intraoral electronic tracking device that can be implanted in teeth. Influences the desired brain state via modification of music files. Something else you may have noticed recently or come across in your YouTube scrolling is AI created music. There's quite a lot of that being saturated. I've even seen an ad on YouTube for someone that's saying real music destroys your brain, but ever since I've been listening to AI music, these are things I can do now. But that's I don't know if I can find that commercial, but you may have come across that. This one controls human brain waves by superimposing waves onto audio waves. Signals, there's two of those. Transmits hidden speech, reconverts to normal speech. Transmits, so hidden speech is like you're in a dialogue, the voice in your mind. And to normal speech signals the intended destination. Controls subjects' brainwaves by shining modulated light. So all of these, and that was just the first page. Remote monitoring of a physical condition of a living subject. Remotely monitors of a subject's psychological health. Superimposes subliminal imaging into a subject. Remotely reads brain waves, reads subject brain state, controls human behavior with targeting human brain, device that is able to detect high power magnetic waves at a target. Combination RF radio frequency, directed weapon and imaging, visual monitoring tool. A system for monitoring emotions by listening to a conversation between at least two people. Some of this is quite scary, really and truly. And this is all patented technology. Just because it is patented doesn't necessarily mean it is they actually made it. But I did want to start out with this one. As I said, we're not going to click on all of those, but at some point in time I will be looking at a few of those, particularly the one that had the ability to disrupt physical structures. That might have some answers to a certain September Tuesday. But let's go and look at a couple of actual patterns that are a little bit more clearer and easier to read. So I'll see you in the next one. Right, guys, at least this patent is a lot easier on the eyes, and we are at Google Patents, and this is a mind-controlled virtual assistant on a smartphone device, US 20150045007A1. Now, this application was filed in 2014, and it was also a priority to US 14168.020, also in 2014. So the abstract for this is as follows. Generally described, the present application relates to a system and method for processing input to control a set of functions and features. More specifically, however, the present application relates to a user device that can be controlled through brain activities or similar actions. In an illustrative embodiment, brain activities are monitored through EEGs, and through EEG input waves that can be appropriately monitored can be sent to a virtual assistant. The virtual assistant can then decipher the number of signals coming and determine a correct output, such as a function or feature, to be manipulated. In the implementation presented herein, features and other types of user devices can also be controlled, such as in-vehicle system, head units, televisions, tablets, computers, laptops, etc., etc., yada yada, whoop-de-woo, ray tay-tay. There's a little drawing there of what it does. Just read the claims. I'm not going to get too into these. I just want to sort of like really gloss over a few of them and just sort of go through the application and let you know what some of this stuff is out there that is being patented. A system and method that, as substantially described herein in the description of application section, for a mind-controlled virtual assistant on a smartphone device, comprising of a controller for translating EEG brainwave signals to actions on a device, a method of processing EEG brainwave signals to human readable text, a brainwave analyzing device with dry EEG centers worn as a headset or patch on the forehead or throat of the user. A wireless communication protocol such as a wireless TCP/UBD or Bluetooth connection, a computing device for processing the EEG signals, wherein the computing device may be in the form of a smartphone, tablet, personal computer, desktop computer, vehicle head unit, smartwatch, wearable display device, television, radio controlled device, smart home system, or any other type of computing device. So pretty much they can put it anything, any smart technology, they can put this in and connect it to your brain. So we will not go too much further into that one. I will remind you of the number of this patent. If you want to come back and read it yourself at a later date, you can. And sort of, as I said, we're going to just gloss over a few of these and not get too into them because they are a little bit confusing to read because they are full of scientific mumbo jumbo and jargon. And this was a US patent 20150045007A1, and this was filed on the 30th of January 2014. So stay with me, folks. Let's go and have a look at another patent or two. So this is another pretty recent patent, and this one is for a wearable brain computer interface, US 11301044B1. This one was applied for on the 27th of January 2020. And the abstract for this is embodiments relate to a brain-computer interface, BCI in brackets, including a light source subsystem, an interface transmitting light from the light source subsystem to a body region of the user, a detector subsystem coupled to the interface and configured to receive light signals from the body region of the user. The light source subsystem, the interface, and the detector subsystems are coupled to other electronics providing power computing functionality and or other functionality. The BCI is designed to be worn at a head region of a user and generate optical signals that can be used to characterize brain activity of the user. where decoded brain activity can be used as inputs to control other systems and or electronic content provided to the user. There are some images there for you. Nothing much really to see here. So the claim is a system comprising of a housing, a light source subsystem comprising of an array of emitters contained within the housing. Could that be a smartphone, I wonder? You let me know if you think it's a smartphone. But a head-mountable interface retained in position by the housing and physically and optically coupled to the array of emitters by a first set of optical fibers, the head-mountable interface retaining ends of the first set of optical fibers in position at a multi-dimensional region of interest. A detector subsystem contained within the housing and comprising an array of pixels, so you need a screen then to display the array of pixels, arranged linearly along an axis as a set of grouped pixel units. The set of grouped pixel units optically coupled to the head-mountable interface by a second set of optical fibers and configured to receive light signals from the multi-dimensional region of interest, wherein the set of grouped pixel units emit buffer regions separating adjacent grouped pixel units in a set of grouped pixel units. And that is where we will leave it. And that was getting a little bit confusing reading about pixel units, but as you can see for yourself, there's quite a lot there it can do. 6 there. The system of claim wherein the head-mounted interface is configured to establish a brain-computer interface and configured to operate in a relay mode to relay light signals generated in response to light emitted from the light source's subsystem and encoding the cognitive intents of the user to the detector system. So it reads what your intent is going to be before you do it, I'm guessing, is what this does. But as I said, guys, we're not going to go into it too much. I will sort of scroll down there, and then we have the sort of description, and we haven't even got a tenth of the way down the page on this. But as you can see, there was a patent that we glossed over, US 1130 1044B1, a wearable brain-computer interface. But wait, we will be back with some more patents. So we are now at Daily Upside for some more patent information, although we are not at the Google patents list itself. This article is interesting because it's about Meta, and Meta patents aim to read brain and body signals. And this article is actually from a couple of years ago in 2023. But Meta's patents highlight a recent consumer tech trend. Tech firms are testing the boundaries of just how close they can get to the users. And as I said, this was written back in 2023 on October the 16th. Meta wants to get in your personal space and to make extended reality more, well, real. The company filed 2 patents for tools that read your body's neural and muscular signals for the use in controlling the metaverse. First up is Meta's patent for an in-the-ear EEG signal verification. This system includes an in-the-ear device with an electrode that is configured to be in contact with an inner surface of the ear canal, a speaker that emits a calibration audio signal, and a controller for generating neural signal data based on the signals from the electrode. The neural signals correspond with brain activity of the user in response to the predetermined audio feature. Finally, an action is performed based on the neural signal data. Some of the options for actions include improving audio perception by helping bolster audio processing in noisy environments, or determining who a user is paying attention to. Amplify the corresponding audio while attuning the other sounds. Meta noted that establishing valid electrical signals through the ear can represent not only brain activity, but also activity of other parts of the anatomy of the user, like eyes, heart, and the like. Meta is also seeking to patent a system for neuromuscular signal-based detection of in-air hand gestures. These gestures allowed users to produce and modify text in an extended reality environments. This method including collecting data from muscular signal sensing devices. The diagrams depict this as a smartwatch or wristband, which Meta hinted at previous patents. That are in communication with a headset or smart glasses which detect hand gestures performed by the user corresponding with target terms. For text modifications, voice input is then used to do the actual text modification. For example, if you want to say a text that says pick up the eggs on your way home but accidentally wrote pick up milk on your way home, the system would allow you to use hand gestures to identify the word milk and change it out for eggs using voice input. What an absolutely ridiculous example. I mean, if I was at the patent office and I said, so you want to spend all this money and get a patent for something that can change milk to eggs in a shopping text, they could have come up with something better than that, is what I'm saying. But Meta's patents highlight a recent, really, it seems an awful lot of trouble when you could just, delete the word with your hands physically, with using the keyboard and the delete button. That could be an option. I don't know why I've ever, when I've ever misspelled something or typed a word that I didn't mean to do, I never ever thought, oh my God, if only there was some technology that I could make a hand gesture with that would identify the word that I want to correct. Never once have I ever thought of doing that. So why on earth are scientists thinking that this is something users need, or unless this is just, of course, the ruse to get us to use this technology when it can then be used for nefarious items. But sorry, I digressed a little bit there. Tech firms are testing the boundaries of just how close they can get to their users before they get freaked out. Apple's patents for things like an in-home location awareness and a real-time social engagement tracking and other examples. Apple has even sought to patent its own in-ear EEG system, similar to Meta's, but here are fundamental differences. Apple has user trust, while frankly Meta has fumbled it. I'm not sure if people do trust Apple more than they trust Meta or Facebook, as it was once known. But let's get back to this. That said, when looking at extended reality, Meta has Apple beat in terms of cost, said Jake Mymar, who is a VP of Innovation at the Glimpse Group. Glimpse Group, he might be somebody to look up one day. But Apple has priced its Vision Pro headset to be released in early 2024 at around $3,500. Meanwhile, the MetaQuest 3, it does have a slightly catchier ring to it, I must admit, Vision Pro or MetaQuest 3. And this starts at only $500, so quite a price difference there. And that appeals more to the casual consumer, he said, even if that means sacrificing privacy for convenience. And there is the true purpose of this technology that Meta has patented or applied for patents back in 2023. I think a lot of people evaluate it as if they got to a point where there was a breach in their data, and did it affect them? Would they stop using it? Meta's patent activity also shows that it is working on building an open ecosystem of devices whether that be headsets, smart glasses or smart watches that work together, pair with any device, and allows for easy development. Maymar noted that while Apple's walled garden of protected devices attracts users for the privacy and ease of use, Meta devices may attract developers looking for a sandbox. I see a lot of value in Meta if Meta stays open and becomes even more open so that you can modify the headset to do all sorts of really interesting things, and people are willing to pay for that, he said. But of course, as it stands, Meta makes most of its money from advertising. Getting to know its consumers as intimately as this device suggests could allow it to tap into a primal data set. Maymar said, if you know their health and age and mindset, you will have a very, 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 very effective sales targets. So there was a little article a couple of years ago from Daily Upside regarding some of the tech giants' patent habits and some of the things that they are trying to patent. So we are going to come back with a few more patents, guys. Stay with it. We will get around to a few more videos in a while. Once we get the patents out of the way, I will reward you with a treat for listening and being good boys and girls. Don't worry about it, folks. RD's got you covered, even though no one really watches RD. Next up, folks, should be a familiar one to some of you longer regular offenders here at NoOneWatchesArDee, and should be familiar to quite a few of you folks. This one has been tossed around quite a lot on various platforms, which is why you may have come across US Patent 6506148B2, a patent for a nervous system manipulated by electromagnetic fields from monitors. So we are going to quickly just glance over this very briefly, but remind some folks of what it is exactly. This was applied for on the 6th of January 2001, and the abstract is psychological effects have been observed in human subject in response to simulation of the skin with a weak electromagnetic fields that are pulsed with certain frequencies near 0.5 hertz or 2 hertz, such as to excite a sensory resonance. Many computer monitors and TV tubes, when displaying pulsed images, emit pulsed electromagnetic fields of sufficient amplitudes to cause such excitation. It is therefore possible to manipulate the nervous system of a subject by pulsing images displayed on a nearby computer monitor or TV set, in modern times a smartphone screen. For the latter, the image pulsing may be embedded in the program material, or it may be overlaid by modulating a video stream either as an RF signal or as a video signal. The image displayed on the computer monitor smartphone screen may be pulsed effectively by a simple computer program. For certain monitors, pulsed electromagnetic fields capable of exciting sensory resonances in nearby subjects may be generated even as the displayed images are pulsed with a subliminal intensity. There is the image. As you can see, there's an individual in front of a TV screen which is hooked up to what may be a cable box which will be hooked up to an antenna, and there's also a VCR. The claim is the method of manipulating the nervous system of subject, emitting frequencies in a field when displaying an image, creating a video signal for displaying an image, modulating the video, setting the pulse. It needs a computer program, a display routine for displaying an image on the monitor or the image. Now, this was back in 2021 when sort of cell phones were not even publicly available as we know them today, and really and truly DVDs were still just in their early infancy in and around about 2001. Most people still did have VCRs, but as I said, guys, I just wanted to sort of gloss over that quickly, how they can use TV monitors or anything really with a screen to pulsate intense images at you that will emit a EMF beam into your brain, causing you to your nervous system to be manipulated. But as I said, that was one that you may be more familiar with. Brace yourself, folks, for the next one. We are about to read, spoiler alert, although not a spoiler alert, I'll wait and let you see it for yourself, but just wait till you read the abstract of the next one. That's all I'm going to say. Welcome to US patent number 20160375220A1. The patent for the method to maintain peace through electromagnetic energy targeted to the brain. That in itself is a concern of its own, and this was applied for in 2016, although the status does say that it has been abandoned, and this patent actually was never granted, but it was at least put forward for a patent. Whatever happened to it, I do not know. Let me make it a little bit larger so I can read it a little bit more easy. So the abstract: world peace and resolution of conflicts depends upon methods to deter the use of weapons of mass destructions. Negotiations are the primary method to resolve conflicts. Pain, especially non-tissue source of pain, is what does that say? Ubiquitous in the minds of humans, and it is an impediment to successful conflict resolution. It is proposed that leaders who are at peace with themselves are more likely to negotiate win-win resolutions of conflicts. When negotiations fail and a deployment of weapons of mass destruction by a country is imminent, targeting the brain of its leaders to change their intentions may be reasonable and necessary. Concentrated, extremely low frequency electromagnetic waves can penetrate the cranium of the most conductive portion of the skull. The Pitron temporal lobe intersection, and produced effects in the anterior temporal lobe that contains the amygdala remote stimulation of the temporal lobe, and this may cause a lethal or incapacitating seizures stimulation of the amygdala. Procedures fear in a high percentage of humans, and in some instances respiratory depression. Using the Belousov-Zabatosky, Jesus fucking Christ, please, fucking normal people all start inventing shit instead of all these ridiculous names no one can read. Get a grip, fucking humanity. But anyway, some fucking gentleman with an unpronounceable name suggested the reaction as a model of brain activity. An early prototype of this weapon was developed in order to prevent another arms race. This technology should be assigned to the United Nations. That's almost probably one of the last people it should be assigned to. The claim is the method to produce, let me get that inside, a method to produce behavioral changes in a human from a remote transfer of electromagnetic energy to the temporal lobe of the brain. The method of claim 1, where electromagnetic energy is transmitted to the I can't see that word, amygdala, I think I'm saying that right, or if I'm not, forgive me. A method to produce a seizure in a human by remote transfer of electromagnetic energy to the temporal lobe of a human. The most serious man-made threat to civilization is the deployment of weapons of mass destruction, and what better way to prevent that than using a weapon of mind destruction on the individuals that are getting a bit trigger happy and are getting itchy fingers about to press that button to launch their weapons of mass destruction. But it does go on. It is a little bit preachy, and really and truly, guys, make of this what you will. It was after all abandoned, and the patent was never actually granted, but make of it what you will. As I said, a method to maintain peace through electromagnetic energy targeted to the brain. And I'm pretty sure that there are very similar patents and technologies to US 201-603-75220A1 that was abandoned. So we can't actually say that this technology made it to development, but I'm not going to rule out that there isn't technology or some protocols or assigned technology that does exactly this. So maybe a couple more, and then let's get into some videos. Now, another one that you may be familiar with, and I certainly hope you're familiar with those, because this featured in my recent upload, Artificial Intelligence is Reading Your Mind, and this is a patent 9101279B2, a patent for a mobile use born brain activity data and surrounding environmental data correlation system. It was applied for in 2012, and I believe it was expired. The application expires in 2027. Look, it is currently active, and it was granted in 2015. So the abstract, a mobile user-born brain activity data and surrounding environment data correlation system comprising of brain activity sensing subsystem, a recording subsystem, a measurement correlation subsystem, a user sensing subsystem, a surrounding environment sensing subsystem. It needs a lot of subsystems, but most importantly, it needs a user portable electronic device, a non-transitory computer readable medium, and a computer processing device. The mobile user-born system collects and records brain activity data and surrounding environment data, and statistically correlates and processes the data for communicating the data into a recipient biological, mechanical, or biomechanical system. Now, somewhere in here, if I can remember which one it was, there's an article that pretty much tells you and describes that this system operates out of a cell phone. The system, according to Claim 1, wherein the said mobile-born home system is communicatively connected to at least one remote computer system for storing and processing the data desirably. Said user portable electric device, brain activity sensor unit, and sensing the surrounding environment. That wasn't it. It needs to be hooked up to a wireless network. Goodness gracious me. I bought new glasses and still I can't fucking read this. Let's make it a little bit bigger. This was it. The system, according to Claim 1, wherein the user portable electric device further comprises of headgear having audio earbuds, a microphone with an integrated augmented reality processing and interactive audio visual display device in communication with the said subsystems to provide real-time or near real-time user feedback through said interface and visual display. Audio earbuds and microphone based on the user's thoughts and actions and circumstances in the surrounding environment are determined by the computer processing device that learns and organizes said based data on input from the mobile user-born system. There is something that says that you need a portable device, but I can't seem to find it at the moment. Maybe I should have looked at that before I started recording. But we did point that out in that previous stream here at NoOneWatchesArDee. It's supposed to have a relational database into the said non-transitory computer readable medium. So as I say, guys, a lot of this stuff is a lot of scientific jargon and computer terminology that I'm not going to lie, I'm not exactly familiar with it myself, but I'm trying to sort of try to translate it the best I can. But this, as I said, was one that we looked at recently, and I wanted to just refresh your minds of again, and maybe remind you to sort of look into this a little more at your own leisure. But for now, guys, that is it for the patents. I'm almost certain I can hear the 6 people that are watching sigh with relief. So let's get over to some videos, and some of the videos we are going to see are relatively recent, but most of them are actually very, very, very old, in order to highlight and show you that although a lot of news articles recently are suggesting that this technology is sort of relatively new or is yet to be developed and used, we're going to discover that it has been used for a very, very, very long time and has been around a lot longer than we probably ever could fathom. So that's it for patterns. Let's head over to some videos.
Time now for Tech 24. Now we need to talk about neurotech machines, which are already used by thousands of people to control their brains. UNESCO, the UN scientific and cultural organization, is warning that this rapidly advancing technology threatens human rights and needs to be regulated urgently. We can now bring in France 24's tech editor, Peter O'Brien. Peter, great to see you. Talk us through what exactly neurotech is and how it's being used.
Yeah, hi Delano. What we have to bear in mind is that our brains are increasingly becoming something that we can read and write to, a bit like a computer, using neurotechnology. So that's electrical or magnetic implants or scans. This can be either surgically invasive or not, with something like a helmet or patch. And this is not science fiction. It's here already. It's already a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it's already been used by hundreds of thousands of people all around the world, mostly as part of clinical trials, extensive trials at that. And it's being used to treat all sorts of ailments and conditions, things like epilepsy, depression, Parkinson's, and it's even allowed quadriplegics to walk again. Hence why some people are really looking forward to this as a miraculous technology. In fact, the possibilities are limitless when you start to think about them. If you can send a signal to your brain, you could potentially tell it when to wake you up, when to put you to sleep, what emotional states you want it to be in. You can imagine all sorts of uses, from the everyday life to military applications. I mean, the list just goes on and on. And scientists can already read what's happening in the brain, our thoughts, to a surprising extent. In May, for instance, a new paper was released which detailed how patients were watching silent films and thinking about a description of what was going on. And the decoder used was able to fairly accurately write sentences that the patients were actually thinking of as they watched these films.
Yeah, but that's a risk, right, Peter? Because if somebody has all this information of my thoughts or whatever, what can they do with it?
Well, that is absolutely one of the biggest problems here, and this is the reason why UNESCO is so keen to ramp up regulatory efforts on this. I mean, they're racing against the clock is one thing, because investment in this tech is just
booming.
Doubled and doubled. I mean, it's increased 22-fold from between 2010 and 2020. That's according to UNESCO's own research. And the number of patents filed between 2015 and 2020 doubled in terms of who's calling the shots. UNESCO reports found that there's an even greater geographical divide in terms of the speed of neurotechnology developments than there is for AI, for instance, with the US leading the world far and beyond with its research on this. And as you say, in terms of the ethical concerns, well, as I'm sure our viewers can think of many of their own, but one of the most pressing is, of course, data privacy. I mean, it's a complete wild west out there in terms of what companies are able to extract from their sort of test subjects' brains. And this is potentially the most sensitive data you can possibly imagine, because it's to do with our very thoughts. So although, as I've said, we're not able to read exact thoughts yet, we're getting pretty close. And people like Raphael Euster are worried about this. He's a leading neuroscientist and neuroethicist. He was at this UNESCO conference on Thursday and previewed a bit of research that he's done into 18 of the top neurotechnology companies in the world and what they're doing with people's data.
Out of 18 neurotechnology companies, take possession of all the brain data. Okay, without exception. Moreover, 17 out of 18 endow upon themselves to share that brain data with third parties. Okay, so that means if you share the data that just came from someone's brain with a third party, the third party in principle can do whatever it wants with it. So the conclusion is that this is complete lack of protection. In fact, you cannot imagine less protection.
So, Peter, what can be done then?
Well, I think one thing I need to stress is that we're already seeing marketable neurotechnology products. That's something that people perhaps don't understand. If you look at, for instance, the NeuroPace RNS system, that's already been approved by the FDA in the US. It detects epileptic seizures based on our brain patterns and can send an electric signal to your brain to sort of calm those symptoms and stop those seizures from happening. So we need to know, first of all, that this is well and truly underway, and we've already seen some treatments start to go on the market. So in terms of what can be done, well, if you add that to the fact that people like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg are pouring lots and lots of money into this, and there's so little public understanding of what ethical implications are, it's clear that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. We are seeing some movement on this. Of course, we've got this UNESCO push that we're talking about. We've got the country Chile, which has pioneered regulation on this, becoming the first country to change its constitution to require the law to protect brain activity. France, the US, Argentina, Spain have also taken some initial steps. But I'd say what's lacking really is a true understanding of what patients who are subject to this technology are going through. Frederick Gilbert is a researcher at the University of Tasmania, and he's done a lot of work on this. He points out that we don't really have any idea of how this neurotechnology is really affecting patients' lives in terms of their well-being. So even though you might get the odd patient and the odd news story about someone who said their life has completely changed and it's solved their problems, you're likely to get another who's been badly addicted to the technology or who became a shell of their former selves. There's some very sad stories out there as well. I mean, he also worries that the fact that these patients have no control over their data once it goes to these companies.
That's the thing. I think there needs to be a certain level of acceptance that your privacy is out the door.
The thing is, it's in these agreements that these test subjects are signing with the companies. It's there in the fine print. But not one of these companies is making an effort to, not any of the 18 top ones are making an effort to actually lock down the privacy of these patients. And when you think about the fact that AI will only increase our ability to understand this data from brains, well, in a few years, all that data could be decoded and exploited. Take a listen to Frederick Gilbert.
More than 15 years ago in Australia, there was a clinical trial run by a company called NeuroVista, which needed to extract data from the brains of participants. The company went bust, and the data that had been collected became the property of people who bought the rights to this data. The people who participated in the trial lost the rights to their own brain data, which is worrying.
Peter, thank you very much for that. Peter O'Brien there with that fascinating discussion on neurotech.
A chilling warning is echoing from the world's top neuroscience labs. Weapons once buried in science fiction are now edging into reality, and the battlefield they target is the human mind itself. Here's a report.
A dark new frontier is opening in the world of warfare. Experts warn that tomorrow's battlefield could be the human mind itself. Now scientists are sounding the alarm over a chilling rise in brain weapons. The premise is scary, a substance that hijacks your thoughts, scrambles your memories, or forces unwanted emotions into your head. This isn't a story from the future. Top British scientists have revealed that the so-called brain weapons, chemicals, and technologies designed to alter perception, behavior, or even decision-making are no longer just the stuff of science fiction. The warning is blunt. These mind-meddling weapons are entering the world's arsenal, and current treaties are riddled with loopholes. Experts say that several governments are already discreetly investing in neuromodulation research, cloaked as medical innovation. But experts caution, the line between healing and weaponizing. The brain is razor thin. From Cold War experiments to the infamous Moscow theater siege, several countries have dabbled for decades in chemicals that target the brain. But this decade's tools are different. Advances in neuroscience, synthetic biology, and AI now make it possible to map and manipulate the very circuits that govern fear, compliance, and aggression. The same labs treating neurological disorders today could supply tomorrow's weapons designed to sedate, confuse, or coerce, turning ordinary people into puppets for governments or criminal gangs. Scientists urge action now. Global treaties, strict oversight, and ethical controls before these tools slip into rogue hands. Because once weaponized thought becomes reality, the battlefield won't be cities or borders. It will be your mind. Bureau Report, We on World is one.
Imagine the implications of a weapon with no visible trace. A weapon that could knock out tanks, ships, and planes as fast as the speed of light. The same technology with modifications could disorient and even tranquilize military personnel, rendering them virtually helpless in the battle zone. These are the new weapons of war we will examine in this series. For the past 40 years, the world has been riveted by the threat of nuclear war, and more recently by the prospect of space defenses using lasers and other modern technologies. But while both sides at the Geneva summit will be focusing on these matters, progress is being made in even newer weapons that could render any arms agreement relatively useless. Lightning is the most dramatic form of energy to be found in nature. Scientists have succeeded in creating limited types of artificial lightning, and some think that these could be the forerunners of a new type of directed energy weapon, part of a family of weapons which operate within the radio frequency segment of the electromagnetic spectrum, and are thus referred to as radio frequency weapons. Dr. James Frazier has researched electromagnetic effects for the Air Force for over 10 years, and he, like a small but growing number of weapons experts, feels that radio frequency, or RF weapons, could be the wild card in the ongoing arms race.
You could have tremendous amounts of radiative power. And what you did with that power then is a matter of engineering design and what your goal is.
Robert Bass, a physicist and PhD in mathematics, is working on U.S. weapons research. He says that the Soviets seem to be ahead in a number of areas, and especially in RF weapons.
We are behind the Soviet Union in directed energy weapons based on 60 gigahertz microwave beams.
Dr. Bass and others feel the most likely form of Soviet RF weaponry would be high-powered microwaves, similar to a focused, ultra-high-intensity radar beam. It would literally cook humans and knock out computers and electronic surveillance and communications gear. An operational RF weapon, relatively cheap and reusable, could devastate sophisticated and expensive war machinery. The $20 million F-16 fighter, for example, is totally controlled through electronic sensors and computers. With no manual flight controls, the plane would literally fall out of the sky after being hit with a high-intensity pulse of microwave radiation. Scientists say that microwaves and other types of RF pulses operating at specific frequencies or windows can be transmitted with little or no loss of power. Machines known as gyrotrons can produce the massive pulses needed to drive these devices, and it's believed that the Soviet Union has a 3 to 5 year lead in this technology. Over the past year, CNN has repeatedly asked the Department of Defense and the Air Force about radio frequency weapons. After much resistance, DoD finally said that the subject was too sensitive to discuss. In my next report, unexplained cloud-like phenomena which may be evidence of a Soviet breakthrough in RF technology. Chuck DeCaro, CNN Special Assignments.
But this system does have its limitations. Anyone can turn off the propaganda by turning off their radio or television. The ultimate weapon in the info war would be so secret, so invisible, so undetectable, you would never know your mind was under attack. At Laurentian University in Ontario, Canada, a young student is about to undergo one of the strangest experiences of her life. They're hooking Denise's brain up to an electroencephalograph, or EEG machine. For 30 to 40 minutes, this will monitor her brain waves, while these electric coils attached on either side of her head will immerse her brain in an electromagnetic field. Her brain actually completes the circuit between the two coils. The field pulsing through her brain is less powerful than one given off by a digital clock radio, but acutely controlled and focused at specific parts of the brain, it will open Denise's mind to outside suggestion by this man.
We're going to do a switch to see its right left hemisphere. Use your frontal attention.
Dr. Michael Persinger is a professor of psychology and neuroscience. He is designing ways to put the power of mind control to good use. Dr. Persinger's research focuses on brain trauma, and he uses carefully controlled doses of electromagnetic radiation to induce relaxation and alleviate pain.
So what Sandra did was to initiate a opiate releasing pattern. That's a burst firing field that is stimulated once every 4 seconds. And that produces relaxation and a very pleasant sensation. Similarly, using the appropriate field, we can induce fear and apprehension, but clearly that would be unethical in that setting.
Dr. Persinger's tests suggest that carefully programmed electromagnetic frequencies can tap into individual brains and influence people's emotions.
The cognitive processes of the human brain are really quite simple. And if you understand how they work, you can make entire populations think and decide the manner in which you wish.
Many experts are skeptical of such an Orwellian scenario, but Persinger thinks the implications are chillingly real.
Suppose you generate a field that produces fear, fundamental fear, in large numbers of people. And then over the television, more traditional ways, you say, the reason we're having this fear is because of this particular group. And now you start to move the population believing in a direction that you wish.
To influence 250 million people, the equivalent of the entire population of the United States, may not be that difficult. According to Dr. Persinger, we already have the technology, satellites and television and radio transmitters. Mind control may already be happening. We know the mysterious PSYOPs plane can beam persuasive sounds and pictures into people's television sets. Will it someday beam disturbing frequencies directly into the mind? Mind control will be the ultimate non-lethal weapon. The prospect of a war without pain or death, where victory comes without a single shot being fired, should be a cause for jubilation. Smart military technologies and non-lethal weapons could at least prevent the awful carnage of large-scale head-to-head combat. What then can we expect of war in the 21st century? Which will frighten us more, the threat of unspeakable destruction from plasma cannons and lasers on high, or the prospect of national computer crashes? Paradoxically, the promise of truly bloodless war may come only with the most devastating weapon of all. If the human mind and will become the battleground of the future, War 2020 may be won without so much as a whimper, let alone a bang.
So welcome back to the virtual basement, and that all but concludes this evening's proceedings, where we had a deeper than anticipated look into some brain stroke mind weapon technology and a bunch of patents related to such technology. Now hopefully you guys that have paid attention and stayed to the very end found this informative, insightful, and hopefully interesting. And you know, it is some pretty disturbing stuff, the capabilities of this technology and what it can do to the human mind, especially the brain. And I mean, I think it's even more disturbing when you kind of think of some very, very young human beings, you know, toddlers, pre-5s, that sort of thrust the tablet to act as a babysitter, and what you know, the things that those young minds can be seeing on those computers, and whatever damage those frequencies can have to those undeveloped minds. We can only wonder, and possibly may not even be around to witness what happens when those youngsters do reach adulthood, when some of those effects from an early age may have a lasting effect in adulthood. But nonetheless, guys, we have seen the effects firsthand. You can see it with your own eyes when you go out and about in your everyday routines, whatever you may live, wherever you may be going, whatever you may be doing. You are sure to see people glued on their phones and glued to their screens. And you know, as each and every one of us goes about our daily routines throughout society, we are saturated and bombarded with layers upon layers upon layers of invisible frequencies and radio waves that are doing who knows what to us. We've seen all sorts of effects they can have on the brain. Not only that, they can have effects on you know, other parts of the body, the heart, the lungs, the liver, the groin, the sexual reproductive organs. They can cause skin irritations. You know, in recent weeks we've got another variant influenza virus subclade K that is on the rampage and becoming more rampant around the globe. And you know, the symptoms of influenza can also be caused by electromagnetic frequency sensitivity. And we also heard about the British bum fungus, in rashes and skin irritations are also something that can be caused with frequency. So are we under a medical emergency, a medical epidemic in the world, or are we just being bombarded with frequencies in our medical epidemics, pandemics, you know, crises, revolving medical symptoms and viruses and such forth? Are these just the cover story that provided the plausible deniability for the actual use of the technology we have been hearing about in today's stream and recent streams? Artificial intelligence is reading your mind. So that is about it for tonight. Not much left for me to say other than the pleasantries and the outros, but I will inform you this evening I am going to be treating you to some post-credit content, and we will be heading back to the good old 1980s, where we will be reviewing or revisiting rather my classic weaponized Walkmans, a video that my partner Al Sweetcheek78 said blew her mind when she seen this, and at the very least it gives a few of you guys that may be in the Generation X demographic, or probably boomers, a little chance to enjoy a little bit of 80s nostalgia. nostalgia. So that's it, folk. Stick around if you want to head back to the 1980s for weaponized Walkman. If you've had enough of RD for one day, thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you in the next one. And as always, until the next time, guys, may the force be with us all. Let's be excellent each other and take care until then. That is RD signing out for now.
You will have an experience which will seem completely real. It will be the result of your subconscious fears transformed to your conscious awareness. It can be extremely harmful and result in severe trauma. You have 5 seconds to terminate this tape. 5, 4, 3,
It's a woodpecker from space. together with the right. Step left, around, and together with the right. That's it.
Responsibility for the next record.
I love disco.
Make a mix. Well, that's it. Good luck. And keep on dancing.
So welcome to the 1980s and welcome to post-credit content here at No One Watches RD. Although nobody watches RD regularly, why or not they would stick around to watch RD post-credits, who knows. But if you are a nobody that has stuck around, welcome to Weaponized Walkmans. We are going to take a retrospective journey to the 1980s and look at some popular technology of the time and some technology that probably all of us owned in one form or another. If or not it was an actual Sony brand Walkman, or if or not it was just a portable cassette player with headphones, we all had a device very similar to that back in the day, and it was the introduction of wearable technology, because previously if you wanted to listen to music, the only other sort of portable options to you were either a transmitter radio or the boom boxes or ghetto blasters, as they used to be called, which were quite gigantic in some cases and not exactly very convenient to put around. But weaponized Walkmans was something that we all, or Walkmans rather, was something we all carried around with us, or most of us carried around with us during the 1980s. And this was a look if to see if in fact or not they were weaponized technology disguised as entertainment very much, as the weaponized technology of modern times in the 2020s is, advertised and branded as entertainment, communication, and being able to keep us in touch with loved ones and the goings on in the world, when in actual fact it is weaponized technology designed to rot the brains of anybody that uses it for elongated periods of times. But Walkmans were very, very interested to me as a pop cultural phenomenon in the 1980s, and the cassette tape itself is very interesting in its concept and origin, because it was during the 1960s, during some MK Ultra experimentation, that the researchers discovered and concluded that there wasn't actually any need for a physical handler to control MK Ultras or MK Ultras. All you needed to do was to be able to record the commands onto tape or record and have them played back to the target altar, and the commands hidden within those recordings would then be subliminally or electromagnetically transmitted to the brain. And once the CIA had concluded their research and come to this realization that all they needed to do was put their commands onto a tape recording, and that would be able to alter the mind of the target individual. They then contacted Philips and said, Philips, hello, we understand that you make audio tape as well as other sort of audio equipment. Is it at all possible that you could make for us a very small and portable tape cassette that would be able to be used in portable devices? And Philips said, hold my beer, CIA, let's see what we can do. And thus the tape cassette was created and become again another popular cultural phenomenon, until it was eventually phased out by more modern digital technology. So once they had the ability to record the commands, the next step was to be able to make this technology portable, so that people could carry around their handlers with them, or their handlers' messages with them wherever they go. And of course today we have artificial handlers that in real time can keep a check of us and provide us with our programming. But back in the 1980s we had to rely on Philips and Sony for our programming that was disguised as entertainment. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this evening's post-credit content, because it is at the very, very least a little bit of a nostalgic throwback to the 1980s that many of us viewers of Generation X and possibly some boomers among us will remember with extremely fond memories. So sit back, relax and enjoy as we head back to the good old 1980s.
Who are you?
Silence, Earthling! My name is Darth Vader. I am an extraterrestrial from the planet Vulcan.
What's up everybody, tonight's episode is an 80s Decoded themed episode, and hopefully 80s Decoded will be an ongoing series you can follow along to on this channel, where nostalgia meets mystery and conspiracy conspiracy as we do a little bit of retro researching in the decade that many Gen Xers hold with very fond and kind memories. And in this evening's 80s Decoded, we are going to be exploring one of the decade's more cultural pop phenomenons, the Walkman, and we are going to discover and look and theorize if or not these were in fact devices for mind control technology as much as they were devices for entertainment, for us to play our favorite cassettes on. And not only were Walkmans a piece of technology for entertainment purposes, they also became a fashion accessory and one of the first digital wearable devices of the decade, along with digital watches that we wore upon our wrists. It wasn't uncommon to see many Gen Xer walking around the shopping mall, the town centre, the leisure centre, wherever it may have been. We all carried our Walkmans with us. Now, Sony do own the patent and the brand name of Walkman, but Walkman became kind of the generic term for any portable cassette stereo tape system that may or may not have contained a radio with it also, but we were all suddenly connected up to these little devices via headphones. And was this, as I've mentioned before, little more than a ruse to get us to carry around devices that could control our minds, or was it purely millions of dollars spent just for our entertainment purposes? And over this evening's hour or so presentation, we will be exploring some retro research and looking at a couple of reports on mind control and frequency technology stroke weaponry, as well as the plausible and possible theory that was this technology contained in devices like Walkmans, boomboxes, ghetto blasters, and Atari consoles, things that we will be looking into in great depth in the coming future episodes of 80s Decoded. But tonight we are going to be concentrating solely on the Walkman, and we are going to theorize if or not these devices were in fact containing dual purpose technology. The dual purpose being the ability beyond just playing cassettes, but to be able to influence our thoughts, to change our behavior and moods, and encase us within an electromagnetic field at all given times that we were wearing them. And many times in the 1980s I fell asleep with my headphones around my neck, as many of you possibly did, and I never really went a day without carrying my Walkman with me wherever I went, be it on my BMX bike, be it at the amusement arcade, or be it on my way to school, and more often than not during lessons. Like many Gen Xers, I was encased in the Walkman, and was this influencing my thoughts? Was it programming my mind? And was it in fact a mind control device that we willingly accepted and carried around with us? So stay tuned, guys, as we are going to step back into the 1980s and explore if or not Walkmans were weaponized. Stay tuned.
Case, and most people just see an empty box. But Sony saw something quite different. Sony introduces the only cassette player as small as a cassette case. The incredible sounding Super Walkman.
Enter Sony's $25,000 sweepstakes. Look for this display at your Sony dealer.
Feel the music with the Sony Walkman.
The Sony Walkman is a tiny stereo cassette player with truly incredible sound.
You really feel the music. You really feel it. You really feel the music.
Put on a Walkman and see the world in a whole new light.
Sony Walkman.
The Walkman from Sony, the one.
From the noisy streets of New York to the laid-back tranquility of California, Americans are tuning out and tuning in. It's the latest fad, tiny stereo cassette players with featherweight headphones. It's caught on all over America, but nowhere as it has in New York, where more and more people are discovering that about the only space they've got is between their ears. In a manner of speaking, of course.
You know, listening to Beethoven and walking in Manhattan, you know, walking on the streets is, it's pretty nice. As opposed to hearing the sirens that are going by and the jackhammers. Yeah. It just puts you in your own world all by yourself. It's like carrying your stereo with you, you know, on your head, and it's like...
Whether they wear pinstripes or no stripes, they're discovering that, at least musically speaking, you can take it with you. About 750,000 people nationwide are doing just that.
Everybody's buying the machines. Anyone from a wealthy executive likes to spend his weekends out in a sailboat listening to Beethoven, to the street kid listening to new wave music down in the subways.
There's a lot of noise and confusion down here, and it just centers me. And, you know, I've just got to go about 5 stops, but it feels good.
Is it the me generation gone wild, the height of antisocial behavior, electronic snubbery?
The rest of the world tunes out to me sometimes, so I might as well do it to them.
Some still prefer last year's model, the radio that's about as big as the Empire State Building and as loud as World War II.
Can you hear me, by the way? Yeah, I can. Yeah. What do you think of the people who wear the headsets, you know, so that doesn't make a lot of noise and they only...
What do I think of it? I don't know. I can say it's a different strokes. I can't hear you.
Can you speak up just a little bit?
I say it's different strokes for different folks.
Different strokes indeed. In the midst of this serenade, there developed one of those mellow happenings that exemplify the sophistication for which New York is so admired.
You bother a lot of people with that?
No. Bother me. Bothers the hell out of me. I think you're invading my life space with that damn thing.
Yeah,
you are, really. Not only mine, but everybody else around here. I ask everybody here, isn't this ridiculous?
It's nice to know that music can bring serenity to people, that music hath charms to soothe the savage breast. It's really quite comforting.
I can't take it anymore. I've had it up to here. I can't take it anymore.
Life is but a dream.
Thank you.
Mark Goldberg, CBS News, New York.
But this system does have its limitations. Anyone can turn off the propaganda by turning off their radio or television. The ultimate weapon in the info war would be so secret, so invisible, so undetectable, you would never know your mind was under attack. At Laurentian University in Ontario, Canada, a young student is about to undergo one of the strangest experiences of her life. They're hooking Denise's brain up to an electroencephalograph, or EEG machine. For 30 to 40 minutes, this will monitor her brainwaves. While these electric coils attached on either side of her head will immerse her brain in an electromagnetic field. Her brain actually completes the circuit between the two coils. The field pulsing through her brain is less powerful than one given off by a digital clock radio, but acutely controlled and focused at specific parts of the brain, it will open Denise's mind to outside suggestion by this man.
Can I get a switch to see its right left hemisphere? Use your fellow.
Dr. Michael Persinger is a professor of psychology and neuroscience. He is designing ways to put the power of mind control to good use. Dr. Persinger's research focuses on brain trauma, and he uses carefully controlled doses of electromagnetic radiation to induce relaxation and alleviate pain.
So what Sandra did was to initiate a opiate releasing pattern. That's a burst firing field that is stimulated once every 4 seconds. And that produces relaxation and a very pleasant sensation. Similarly, using the appropriate field, we can induce fear and apprehension, but clearly that would be unethical in that setting.
Dr. Persinger's tests suggest that carefully programmed electromagnetic frequencies can tap into individual brains and influence people's emotions.
The cognitive processes of the human brain are really quite simple. And if you understand how they work, you can make entire populations think and decide the manner in which you wish.
Many experts are skeptical of such an Orwellian scenario, but Persinger thinks the implications are chillingly real.
Suppose you generate a field that produces fear, fundamental fear, in large numbers of people. And then, over the television, more traditional ways, you say, the reason we're having this fear is because of this particular group. And now you start to move the population believing in a direction that you wish.
To influence 250 million people, the equivalent of the entire population of the United States, may not be that difficult. According to Dr. Persinger, we already have the technology, satellites and television and radio transmitters. Mind control may already be happening. We know the mysterious PSYOPs plane can beam persuasive sounds and pictures into people's television sets. Will it someday beam disturbing frequencies directly into the mind? Mind control will be the ultimate non-lethal weapon. The prospect of a war without pain or death, where victory comes without a single shot being fired, should be a cause for jubilation. Smart military technologies and non-lethal weapons could at least prevent the awful carnage of large-scale head-to-head combat. What then can we expect of war in the 21st century? Which will frighten us more, the threat of unspeakable destruction from plasma cannons and lasers on high, or the prospect of national computer crashes? Paradoxically, the promise of truly bloodless war may come only with the most devastating weapon of all. If the human mind and will become the battleground of the future, War 2020 may be won without so much as a whimper, let alone a bang.
What time you go to sleep is your business. What time you wake up is Panasonic's. Panasonic introduces its electronic clock radios. A gentle chirp, silent, easy-to-read numbers, a doze button, and of course, beautiful AM and FM. What time you wake up is
my business.
Ours too. Panasonic electronic clock radios and digital clock radios.
Why did you watch it, Max? Business reasons. Sure. What about the other reasons?
Max Wren is a victim.
I woke up with a headache.
He has been exposed to Videodrome.
I've been hallucinating for a while, ever since...
What?
Since I first saw Videodrome.
His brain is already receiving video images.
I think that massive doses of Videodrome signal will ultimately produce and control hallucination to the point that it will change human reality.
Soon, his visions will coalesce and become uncontrollable flesh. Videodrome is seducing Max Wren.
Please, come to me now. Come to Nikki.
And Max Wren can do nothing to stop it.
What makes you think I need help? None of our test subjects has returned to normality.
Television can change your mind. Videodrome will change your body.
Long live the new flesh.
It will shatter your reality. Videodrome, starring Deborah Harry and James Woods. A shocking new vision from the creator of Scanners. Coming soon to a theater near you from Universal Pictures.
Bomb was a science fiction movie about a device which electronically injected thoughts into the human mind. In this scene, the mind control machine projects images into the brain of the chief scientist through an electrode headset. The scientist then finds himself experiencing the thoughts of a wild truck ride. But even in this futuristic Hollywood tale, the subject still had to be connected to the machine by an electrode headset.
That's remarkable.
But not as remarkable as a real-life experiment where I was the subject of a prototype device designed to project images into the mind without electrodes. The prototype machine, developed from Soviet scientific data, could, according to some scientists, have a profound effect as a weapon of war. Electronic mind control research is not new. A scientific milestone in this area came in the 1960s, when Dr. Jose Delgado demonstrated remote control over a charging bull. By connecting a radio antenna to electrodes inserted into the bull's brain, Delgado proved that the animal's aggressive impulses could be thwarted by electronically manipulating the bull's muscle reflexes.
Do you realize the fantastic possibilities if from the outside we could modify the inside? Could we give messages to the inside? But the beauty is that now we are not using electrodes.
In recent years, Delgado has shown that the behavior of monkeys can be altered using low-power, pulsating magnetic fields. But in these experiments, there were no antenna implants.
Any function in the brain, emotions, intellect, personality, well, could be perhaps modified by this non-invasive technology.
Delgado's research has so far been limited to animals. But in the Soviet Union, a radio frequency, or RF device, has been used for over 30 years to manipulate the moods of mental patients. It's called a LIDA machine. It radiates pulses of radio frequency energy, as well as light, sound, and heat. The pulse rate is in the extremely low frequency range, between 0 and 100 pulses per second. Dr. Ross Adee is the top researcher at the Veterans Administration Hospital in Loma Linda, California. He has been investigating the effects of the LIDA machine.
Now, what do the Soviets use this machine for?
Well, they don't use it anymore. We should be very clear that this is a machine which is regarded by them as somewhat obsolete technologically.
This scientist, who did not want his identity revealed, is employed by the U.S. government and has done secret RF weapons research. He believes that tests done with the LIDA and similar machines prove that humans are susceptible to remote alterations of mood and awareness.
Certain kinds of weak electromagnetic signals work exactly like drugs. And so the promise is that anything you can do with drugs, you could do with the right electromagnetic signals. Apparently, there are specific sites involved, specific functions involved. It's a matter of matching up, just like it is with a pill or a drug, to cause and effect. You could have a cause and effect relationship between a magnetic field and a biological function.
CNN enlisted the help of noted physicist Dr. Elizabeth Rauscher and electrical engineer Bill Van Weiss to build and test an RF mine interference machine from data found in Soviet scientific literature. The machine itself was inexpensive and easy to construct, using parts from a consumer electronics store. It emits a weak magnetic field, pulsed at extremely low frequency. As the subject of the test, I was blindfolded, and my ears were blocked to prevent inadvertent clues as to what was happening. A magnetic probe was placed about 18 inches from my head. As the experiment began, 2 signal generators produced waveform patterns that were transmitted by the magnetic probe at about 1/1000th of the Earth's natural magnetic field strength.
Describe anything that you see, if any.
In the control room, Van Weiss varied the waveforms being generated. In another room, I could see waveforms changing shape in my mind.
Parabola just went by?
Parabola just went by.
Oh, yeah, I did. I just flipped the switch. Parabola?
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, let's see. Let's check this out. That's what happened. I flipped the switch. Okay. There's a spike right there. Spike. Tight spike. I dramatically changed the generator. I stepped it by 10 right here. And the intermix from the 2 generators was right where you said that you saw a spike.
Van Weiss says that when I failed to see any change, it was because he had not set the proper frequency and power levels. Later, I asked Van Weiss what a weapon using this technology could do.
Induce basically what would be considered hallucinations in people, direct them to do things against their so-called better judgment.
How easy would it be to assemble a weapon from existing off-the-shelf parts?
In 3 weeks, I could put together a weapon that would take care of a whole town.
We showed the results of our test to Dr. Robert Becker, a two-time Nobel nominee for his work in the biological effects of electromagnetism.
This is a very significant experiment because it carries our understanding of how vision is actually performed a step further into the mystery.
He said he thought the machine caused a disturbance in the brain's interpretation of vision, and as such could be used as a weapon.
That kind of a disturbance in the visual system could markedly influence the operations of a fighter pilot, a helicopter pilot, or even a simple an aberration in the visual field as making everyone seeing double, or everyone having their visual field jitter like a poorly adjusted television screen. The effect of that upon the efficiency with which an Army, an Air Force, or a Navy would operate would be catastrophic.
More about RF weapons in my next report. Chuck DeCaro, CNN, Special Assignments.
Described as Radio Shack parts that anybody can build, done in a laboratory.
A weapon with no visible trace. A weapon that could knock out tanks, ships, and planes as fast as the speed of light. The same technology with modifications could disorient and even tranquilize military personnel, rendering them virtually helpless in the battle zone. These are the new weapons of war we will examine in this series. For the past 40 years, the world has been riveted by the threat of nuclear war, and more recently by the prospect of space defenses using lasers and other modern technologies. But while both sides at the Geneva summit will be focusing on these matters, progress is being made in even newer weapons that could render any arms agreement relatively useless. Lightning is the most dramatic form of energy to be found in nature. Scientists have succeeded in creating limited types of artificial lightning, and some think that these could be the forerunners of a new type of directed energy weapon, part of a family of weapons which operate within the radio frequency segment of the electromagnetic spectrum, and are thus referred to as radio frequency weapons. Dr. James Frazier has researched electromagnetic effects for the Air Force for over 10 years, and he, like a small but growing number of weapons experts, feels that radio frequency, or RF weapons, could be the wild card in the ongoing arms race.
You could have tremendous amounts of radiative power, and what you did with that power then is a matter of engineering design and what your goal is.
Robert Bass, a physicist and PhD in mathematics, is working on U.S. weapons research. He says that the Soviets seem to be ahead in a number of areas, and especially in RF weapons.
We are behind the Soviet Union in directed energy weapons based on 60 gigahertz microwave beams.
Dr. Bass and others feel the most likely form of Soviet RF weaponry would be high-powered microwaves, similar to a focused, ultra-high-intensity radar beam. It would literally cook humans and knock out computers and electronic surveillance and communications gear. An operational RF weapon, relatively cheap and reusable, could devastate sophisticated and expensive war machinery. The $20 million F-16 fighter, for example, is totally controlled through electronic sensors and computers. With no manual flight controls, the plane would literally fall out of the sky after being hit with a high-intensity pulse of microwave radiation. Scientists say that microwaves and other types of RF pulses operating at specific frequencies or windows can be transmitted with little or no loss of power. Machines known as gyrotrons can produce the massive pulses needed to drive these devices, and it's believed that the Soviet Union has a 3 to 5 year lead in this technology. Over the past year, CNN has repeatedly asked the Department of Defense and the Air Force about radio frequency weapons. After much resistance, DoD finally said that the subject was too sensitive to discuss. In my next report, unexplained cloud-like phenomena which may be evidence of a Soviet breakthrough in RF technology. Chuck DeCaro, CNN Special Assignments. This is a Soviet LiDAR machine. It broadcast by a number of high-powered radio transmitters operating deep in the Soviet Union since July 4th, 1976. Though the official Defense Department explanation of the woodpecker is that it is an over-the-horizon radar designed to track U.S. missile launches, some scientists suspect that the woodpecker is designed to interfere with human brain function.
As far as I'm concerned, the potential that this has for producing a direct psychoactive effect upon the total American population is there, has never been disproven.
Dr. Robert Becker is a pioneer in the field of bioeffects of electromagnetism.
The signal range within which the woodpecker operates is that which has been reported by many investigators to produce a tranquilizing effect upon animals.
We are just incredibly sensitive to these magnetic stimuli.
Dr. Bob Beck, a PhD in nuclear engineering, has done extensive research into electromagnetic effects on humans.
The signal was permeating power grids in the United States. It was being picked up by power lines, re-radiated. It was coming into the homes on the light circuits.
I was surprised after coming here that the influence of electromagnetic fields was almost completely ignored here.
Dr. Larissa Valenskaya was heavily involved in Soviet electromagnetic research before being allowed to emigrate to the United States. She told CNN about Soviet research in electromagnetic effects.
They demonstrated theoretically and also demonstrated experimentally that low frequency, low energy electromagnetic fields also can possess biological influence, biological efficiency, because any field not only carries energy but also carries information.
She stated that the research was carried out on orders from the Soviet government.
Of course, the military were extremely interested in this potential of remote influence.
Is the United States military working in the field of electronic mind control? Officially, the Department of Defense will not comment because the subject area is, quote, too sensitive. But CNN has learned from this government scientist, who did not want to be identified, that a Navy laboratory conducted research into the use of an RF device for counterterrorism and special operations.
It's possible to entrain a certain percentage of a population, apparently, with weak magnetic fields.
The study also showed that RF signals could dissolve certain types of rat brain cells at a distance, causing disorientation and nausea. According to the scientist, even though the program was successful, the government never followed up on it. Dr. James Frazier did electromagnetic research for the U.S. Air Force for many years. At one time, he proposed a battlefield RF weapons system.
You could make an antenna that would be carryable by a helicopter, and that this could be expected to produce a wide variety of symptoms, actually, by humans who happen to be standing in the beam.
According to Dr. Fraser, the Air Force never followed up. At Lawrence Livermore Laboratory, another RF weapons concept is nicknamed the brain bomb. According to the book Star Warriors, the brain bomb would focus a nuclear blast into a huge pulse of low-frequency RF energy that would stun huge numbers of troops. Apparently, it too has not yet been funded. The Department of Defense will not comment about Soviet RF weapons, or if American RF weapons development is going forward. However, experts interviewed by CNN say that the Soviets are apparently ahead and could exploit that lead in a surprise strategic move, a move that could have grave consequences for the United States. From Washington, this is Chuck DeCaro, CNN Special Assignments. This is a Tesla coil. It was invented some 90 years ago, but now a growing number of experts in the United States feel that it may form the basis of a new generation of Soviet weapons. They are known as radio frequency, or RF weapons, because they operate in the radio frequency spectrum. Their existence is noted in this U.S. Department of Defense publication, which says the Soviets could use them to destroy components of missiles, to interfere with radar and other electronic systems, and even to alter human mind functions. The concept of RF weaponry was predicted at the turn of the century by Nikola Tesla, an American who had emigrated from Yugoslavia. He is best remembered as the man who invented alternating current electricity. In 1899, Tesla built this giant coil which produced 10 million volts of artificial lightning. From it, he theorized the possibility of death rays. This and many other of his ideas about the physics of electricity were ridiculed by the scientific establishment.
Pure science is not a sure thing. You can't predict what's going to work out and what's not going to work out.
Robert Golka, a research scientist, built a replica of the Tesla coil about 80 years later. Golka was trying to produce a phenomenon known as ball lightning. He also used the Tesla coil to conduct testing for the U.S. Air Force.
What I was doing was setting in maybe 5-foot-long models of advanced fighter aircraft, and we would want to try to find out which part of the airplane was more vulnerable to lightning strikes, whether it was a wingtip or the canard where the pilot sat.
These experiments could also demonstrate the effect of the electromagnetic pulse of a nuclear blast, and Golka says the effect of RF weapons as well. Golka thinks that Tesla's theory that electromagnetic power could be transmitted through the Earth and its atmosphere without wires is a key element in the Soviet Union's work on RF weapons. Tesla's novel weapons theories were generally ignored in the United States. Nikola Tesla died in 1943, and after the Second World War, all his papers and effects were shipped to his native Yugoslavia, where they were enshrined in a museum. Some say that that museum proved to be a gold mine for Soviet weapons scientists.
We haven't even formally, so far as I know, to ourselves admitted that these weapons exist in the hands of the Soviet Union.
Weapons analyst Tom Bearden, a retired U.S. Army lieutenant colonel, is among a small group of scientists and engineers who believe that the Soviets have perfected Tesla's ideas and are developing radio frequency weapons on a scale unimagined in this country.
There have been a series of tests of these kinds of weapons, apparently, for a number of years. For example, airliners from Iran, before the fall of the Shah, saw deep within the Soviet Union very large, glowing spherical balls of light, which started out small and then expanded to very large size, which are apparently these kinds of weapons for use in an anti-ballistic missile defense role.
Bearden believes that these satellite photographs are of mysterious non-nuclear explosions near an uninhabited island in the East Siberian Sea, and that they are discharges from an RF weapon that uses intersecting energy beams called scalars.
In doing so, you can create, for example, either an electromagnetic explosion at a distance, or you can create an electromagnetic implosion at a distance, the extraction of energy from a distant point. This would look like a cold explosion, so to speak. And I believe the thing on April the 9th, 1984, off the coast of Japan, that involved several 747 jet airliners, I believe that incident was a test of a cold explosion weapons. At least it met all the characteristics.
Pilot Doug Happ was in one of the 5 airline crews that saw an incredibly large cloud rising from the moonlit overcast below.
It looked like a plate coming up through an overcast, but it just kept expanding, and as it got higher, it was apparent that you could see right through the middle of it, so it looked like a big smoke ring. At the time that we first noticed this cloud, we weren't sure what to do, and we took no evasive action because we didn't know which way to go. And I think eventually we either ran through it or it completely engulfed us.
Happ says when his flight reached Anchorage, Alaska, it was checked for radioactive contamination. None was found. Dr. James Frazier has done extensive research in electromagnetic effects for the U.S. Air Force.
It could be due to a strong electromagnetic beam, but we don't know that. They can also be caused by chance terminal gradients. We've had for several years studies of clear air turbulence, for instance, which have produced this kind of a disruption. The people who cited those are experienced pilots and should have been familiar with that kind of event, and this apparently was something outside their experience.
There have been a number of times when Soviet technological surprise has upset the strategic balance. In 1948, the Soviets detonated an A-bomb years before it was thought possible. In 1957, the Soviets stunned the world by launching Sputnik 1, the world's first artificial satellite. And in 1976, the Soviets were discovered to have been embarked upon a program to build particle beam weapons, a discovery which led, 5 years later, to America's Star Wars program. In each case, the United States was able to regain the balance. But this time, with radio frequency weapons, some scientists feel that the Soviet lead may be permanent. In my next report, how radio frequency devices can be used as weapons against the human mind. Chuck DeCaro, CNN, on special assignment.
Suppose it were possible to transfer from one mind to another the experience of another person.
Hey, there it is.
Any person, any experience.
I'm telling you, it works.
The test, sound, taste?
Everything,
Smell?
everything, 100%. In fact, better.
Did you have a breakthrough or not?
Yes.
I'd like a demonstration. Knock my socks off.
What about military applications? Wide open. Missile guidance, that kind of thing? They're going to be able to plug right into the old noodle.
I made that for you.
What is it?
It's me.
You've blown communication as we've known it right out of the water. You know that, don't you?
So something happened to me. It was more than just a sexual fantasy. It was a feeling I had. I'm more than I was, Mike.
I'm scared. But the thing is, I like it. I want more.
No, I can't authorize this.
It's a chance to take a scientific look at the scariest thing a person ever has to face.
This is not the research we're interested in.
This is my project. I don't want to see it end up on some defense scrap heap before we know what it's really about.
I want these personal experiments stopped.
I told you I want to play it out.
Nobody plays that tape.
Arrested.
They're onto us.
It's party time!
Rock and roll will never die. At least not this Halloween.
You've heard of raising spirits from the dead by incantations, right?
Yes.
I did that by playing the record backwards.
You're kidding.
Sammy Kerr. He's a rock and roll nightmare.
I am a big fan of yours. I've got all your records. Shut up! You're the me. The me is you.
This message is meant for me.
How can you listen to this stuff?
Shut it off! Shut it off!
What have you done to your stereo?
I wanted a new one.
Sammy Kerr. His fans won't let him die. He won't let them live.
You should be loyal to your hero. Make it turn on you.
Trick or treat.
Looks like we better check out the party punch.
So welcome back to present day, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that little step back to the 1980s and found it enjoyable, informative, and maybe even a little bit disturbing. But here in the present day, we are at good old Wikipedia, where we are going to have a little gander at what they have to say about dual purpose technology. And in politics, diplomacy, and export control, dual use refers to technology that can be used for both peaceful and military aims. And was the Walkman a dual purpose piece of technology for mind control, a transmitter for radio frequencies, and the headphones, the device to encase our brains in an electromagnetic field? And from what we just saw from TV back in the 1980s and movies, you decide if or not they were. I'm not telling you they are, I'm just giving you the information to make and formulate your own speakings. But back to Wikipedia. More generally speaking, dual use can also refer to any technology which can satisfy more than one goal at any given time. This expansive technologies that would otherwise benefit only civilian commercial interests that can also be used to serve military purposes if they are not otherwise engaged. And such as the global positioning system as an example that they give there. And we also heard about smart technology back in 1981 being used by the military, and it is smart technology, self-monitoring advanced research technology. The technology that we carry around in our cellular devices was militarized, as was Motorola's walkie-talkies and handsets back in WW2. But the dual-use dilemma was first noted by the discovery at the process for synthesizing and mass-producing ammonia, which revolutionized agriculture with modern fertilizer, but also led to the creation of chemical weapons during the above-mentioned World War II. Actually, that's World War I, so I'm seeing a little bit of double vision. Maybe that's the effects of radio frequency being emitted from my cellular device that I'm being used to record this presentation on. But the dilemma has long been known in chemistry and physics and has led to international conventions and treaties, including chemical weapons conventions and the Treaty on Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons. But we're going to look here at artificial intelligence before we move on and look at some patents for mind control technology. But artificial intelligence is housed within the cellular devices. It also could or could not be transmitters for radio frequencies and electromagnetic fields. It could or could not be influencing our mind, controlling our thoughts, moods, and behaviors. But as more advancements are made towards artificial intelligence, it gains more and more attention on its capability as dual-use technology and the security risks it may pose. Artificial intelligence can be applied within many different fields and can easily be integrated throughout current technology. Was this current technology of the 80s the Walkman? Was this integrated with mind control transmitters that could emit frequencies that could turn us into radio-controlled humans and project images into our minds, just as we saw in the movies Brainstorm and Videodrome? But with the use of artificial intelligence technology, this has become capable of running multiple algorithms that could solve difficult problems, from detecting anomalies in samples during MRI scans to providing surveillance of an entire country's residents. And within China's mass surveillance, the government uses artificial intelligence in order to distinguish citizens with less than satisfactory records among crowds, using technology like facial recognition. All you anti-maskers out there might want to take that into consideration, because if they are creating databases on the non-compliance, then you've made yourself quite a visible target. Excuse me for that little glitch there. But every new invention or application made with AI comes with its own set of positive and negative effects. The dual purpose is the positive, and the military purpose would be probably the negative. But some obtain that as potential uses for AI grow in number, nations need to start regulating it as a dual-use technology. At the moment, there are no regulations, I think, that do constrain artificial intelligence to dual-use technology, and I do strongly believe that the modern-day equivalent to the Walkman mind control set is our cellular devices, our phones, our tablets, our smart TVs, our smart refrigerators, our smart microwaves. All of these are self-monitoring advanced research technology that have artificial intelligence that run algorithms that are always listening, unless of course you deactivate the microphones, which of course not all Walkmans had back in the day to record what we are saying, as well as maybe in today's modern technology standards they may even have the ability to listen to what we are thinking. But we're going to leave Wikipedia there. You can go and look at dual purpose technology a little bit more on depth under your own reconnaissance if you so desire. But now we are going to go and check a couple of patents before wrapping things up. So stay tuned. We will be back momentarily. Now at a website called fightingmonarch.com, and you can read for yourself there. It is a site dedicated for survivors of CIA, NSA, TikTok, Tavistock, Give a Shill a Meme, and the Illuminati mind control. It's actually a resistance site I failed to mention. And below is a list of 100 US patented mind control technology. Don't worry, we aren't going to read them all, but we are going to read a few. But I will read the opening paragraphs for you before we do check out a couple of the patents of particular that we could hold in relation to the theory that were Walkmans weaponized. But below, find over 100 patents for some of the mind control technology that is being used against us. You may find it useful for court cases, further investigation, and for the purposes of general information, as is the case of this stream. It is for general information as well as it is for entertainment purposes. But in The Minds of Men, a film by Aaron and Melissa Dykes, you can learn how the CIA developed this technology as early as the 1950s, implanting people with it. You can also check out my playlist on mind control, MK Ultra, and memetics if you want further information on maze and tools of manipulation for mind control. Now, there are some videos we aren't going to click on. Again, I've given you the information, fightingmonarch.com. I don't believe in breastfeeding you by putting links in the description. You can follow your own research, and I've already given you the information you need to type into the search engine of your choice to find yourself at this page for your own further investigation. But Gwen, ground wave emergency network system, there are some examples of things you and I have probably seen and encountered on a daily basis. And are these tools for mind control? Stuff for another day. Today we are concentrating on Walkmans, but attached below are some links to articles on the applications of this technology and how to spot it and fight back. They also make some mention towards chemtrails and stuff we are being sprayed with. But as I said, if you want to read this for yourself, fightingmonarch.com once again is the name of the website you can search for on your own. And there were the aforementioned chemtrails. But moving down, many, well, there's over 100 here, but lots and lots of patents here for mind control devices, and this is one in particular. Don't worry, we're not going to click on the link to read it all. We're just going to read a brief description of what it is. The Silent Subliminal Representation System, US patent number US 5159703. The inventor and assignee was Oliver M. Lowry. And a silent communication system in which non-neural carriers in the very low or very high audio frequency range or in adjacent ultrasonic frequency spectrum are amplitude or frequency modulated with the desired intelligence and propagated acoustically or vibrationally for the inducement into the brain, typically through the use of either loudspeakers, earphones, as was the case with the Walkman, or that word that I cannot read, piezo, yeah, you read it for yourself, transducers. The modulated carriers may be transmitted directly in real time or may be conveniently recorded and stored on mechanical, magnetic, or optical media for future views. And tapes were mechanical, magnetic ways to listen to music that we plugged into our Walkmans and then plugged in the headphones and put them on to our head. So US patent number US 5159703, the silent subliminal representation system, is something you should check out if you do come to fighting Monarch on your own devices a little bit deeper to find out exactly what this does. Very, very disturbing. But a brief description. Imagine you were a secret agent that was plucked out of a bunch of others to carry out a very secret covert operation. Rather than giving you a message that would self-destruct in 5 seconds, they could literally plug you into the headphones and send the presentation of all your information and protocols for that mission directly to the brain and then erase them when you return. And you can click the link there to look deeper if you do so choose to. Moving on, there's one more we are gonna look at before we get to starting to wrap things up. There's one there. Look for some glasses that you wear around your ears. We have smart glasses nowadays. Is this the one I'm looking for? No. Bear with me, guys. Sorry, I should have probably paused and come straight to it. But here it is. Okay, so there is a little diagram of somebody with their ears plugged into a device on the back of their neck. And this one is called the apparatus for electric stimulation of auditory nerves of a human being, and the US patent number is 5922016. The inventors and assignees are Irwin and Ingenberg Holtzman. And this is the apparatus for electric simulation and diagnostics of auditory nerves of a human being. And the example given is for determination of sensation level. Most comfortable level and uncomfortable level. Why they'd want to know what your uncomfortable levels were, unless it was for nefarious purposes, I wonder why. But all the ability nerves curves include a simulator detachably secured to a human being, and we could detach and secure our Walkmans with a handy belt clip that was built into the device onto our bodies and wrap those headphones around our ears, just like the diagram. But they were include a simulator detachably secured to a human being for sending a signal into the human ear, and the electrode placed within the human ear and electrically connected to the simulator by an electric conductor for conducing the signals from the simulator into the ear, just like was the case with the Walkman. We'd plug our tapes in and it would play the sounds and then put it directly into our ear via the headphones. A control unit is operatively connected to the simulator for instructing the simulator as to the characteristics of the generated signals being transmitted to the ear. And at that, we will leave the patent list because it goes on and on and on and on. But there you can see yourself, if you were to imagine there a little Walkman instead of that little diagram that they have there, you would have what the patent was describing in a nutshell. Exactly would be a Walkman, would be identical to that. But fightingmonarch.com, as I said, is a site you might want to check out for yourself and look deeper into some of these patents we just looked into. Of them, there are another 98, and many of these patents in this technology, I believe, are housed within many of the devices that we have brought into our homes since the 1980s and seem to be piling on top of each other in contemporary times. So we're going to look at something called the Mind Machine, which is something that you can purchase on Amazon before we wrap things up and head back to the studio for live debate on what we've just saw. Stay tuned, guys. We're almost done. Back once again at Wikipedia, where we're going to look what they've got to say about the Mind Machine before having a look where you can buy one on today's online marketplace. But a mind machine, aka a brain machine or light and sound machine, uses pulsing rhythmic sound, flashing light, or a combination of these to alter the frequency of the user's brainwaves. Now, once upon a time, we listened to pulsing rhythmic music on our good old Walkmans via the headsets. And did they contain subliminal messages and subliminal pulsing rhythmic sounds that we did not detect at the time? And if you can remember, there was always a hiss and a crackle in the background when we listened to a Walkman. Was that there by accident or was that there by design? And was that hiss actually hiding some of the subliminals that were being sent directly to our mind via the ear that was hooked up to a little transmitter box that we thought was playing pop hits of the times? But mind machines can induce deep states of relaxation, concentration, and in some cases altered states of consciousness, which have been compared to those obtained from meditation and shamanic exploration. Photic mind machines work with flickering lights embedded in sunglasses or a lamp that sits on a tripod above your head or facing you when you watch with your eyes closed. And there is a picture of a mind machine which looks an awful lot like a Walkman, wouldn't you say? That is also hooked up to some headphones there, but unlike the Walkman, it has a pair of glasses. But if you remember the good old 1980s, and in particular Marty McFly, he wore his Walkman and headphones along with his good old mirror aviator glasses. And were the aviator glasses part of the, they would be obviously touching the connector of the headphones when you would wear them, and did they complete a circuit that could also alter our visuals? Just a theory, thought for consumption. But the process applied by some of these machines is said to induce brain wave synchronization or entertainment. That being said, with the dual purpose technology, it could also induce frantic panic type symptoms as well as an unrelaxed state of mind. But a history of the brain machine, the influence of rhythmic sounds and drums. Again, music of the 80s had rhythmic sounds and drums to enter altered states of consciousness is used by different indigenous tribes. See shamanic music, as well as optical simulation produced by the flickering light of campfires or pressing lightly on the eyeballs. This stroboscopic photo simulation produces photonic driving, the alpha type of brain electrical activity associated with an altered state in which people are susceptible to suggestion. And that is the important part to remember, susceptible to suggestion. So we'll be put into a trance-like relaxed state of mindset, so that mind then could be so much more susceptible to suggestions, whatever those suggestions may or may not be. But the first scientific observation were made by William Charles Wells in the 1790s, guys. So this was back in the 1790s. Imagine how advanced that is right now. And is there a flickering of the screen on television and also your cell devices that you may be watching this on? May that be putting us into a trance-like state. But the first scientific discoveries were made in the 1790s and were described by different effects of binocular vision, and his results were then transferred to be applied in binaural beats. Visual experiments with flickering lights were conducted in the 1940s by William Gray Walter, who used stroboscopic lights flashes to measure their efforts on brain activity assessed with EEGs. And he reported effect not just on visual areas, but on the whole cortex. During the 60s and 70s, the interest in different methods to induce altered states without the use of drugs were rising. Some of the induced states of rhythmic light and sound combinations were even described as psychedelic. Remember the psychedelic era, the music and the sights and sounds of the 60s that we looked into back on TSP TV and the Tavistock Touch. But while these claims lack adequate measurements for their similarity, in this line, numerous nightclubs began using strobes to maximize the effects of music for dancing. And again, during the 1980s, strobe lighting and lasers in particular that carried on into the 90s during the rave culture were very, very prominent in many nightclubs, as were disco balls and things, and all these visual lights, sounds, and rhythmic beats. Were they putting us into an ordered state of mind that was susceptible to transmission? And was the feel-good factor that we heard about earlier, that they could induce an opioid type effect every 4 seconds, was this encased within music and entertainment of the 80s? As to why it might explain we hold that era and those movies and that music with such fondness now. It still sounds as good as it ever did. And is the explanation for that? Frequencies. Food for thought, guys. But the development of alpha EEG feedback is an important starting point for biofeedback and its explicit use for entering altered states of consciousness. In these decades, Jack Schwartz built one of the first mind machines using rhythmic sounds and variable frequency lights in goggles to produce certain mental states. And enterprises started to produce different types of mind machines, and some scientists followed this line of research to explore if and how these devices elicit effects on the brain process. In the late 1980s and early 90s, Farley initiated an investigation concerning medical claims made by some manufacturers and sellers. The FDA, good old FDA, concluded that light and sound machines were not medical devices and did not warrant regulation. Sellers and manufacturers were given guidelines for how they could advertise these devices and were required to include a disclaimer and cautionary document with each machine. Nowadays, mind machines are rediscovered by some teenage cultures as so-called digital drugs, a legal way to enter altered states of consciousness. And youngsters today are being molded to accept the digital era that is due to come, where we're probably constantly hooked up to the internet via devices that we will either be plugging into our ears, wearing on our wrists, or maybe having implanted into our body. So we will just chuck out a couple of mind machines that you can buy before wrapping this up, guys. And if or not you're starting to think for yourselves that yes, there is a strong chance that quite possibly Walkmans were devices for mind control. By this conclusion of this evening's Ada's Decoded presentation on weaponized Walkmans. So stay tuned, guys. We are nearly done, and we will be back live in the studio very Here we are at Google, which is a website I hardly ever use for my researching purposes. However, when I want to find out what they want us to be looking at, what they want us to be buying, and what they want us to be knowing, it is over to a good old Google that I come to do my searching. And here you can see in the search bar, I've typed mind machine. And in the all section, it doesn't give us any articles other than the Wikipedia one, which we will just read there. A light and sound machine with headphones and strobe light goggles. A mind machine, aka brain machine or light and sound machine, uses pulsing rhythmic sound, which we just read. But straight away, mind machine at Amazon.com, and there are a few examples that you can buy, and results 1 to 48 of 30,000 plus. Mind Alive David Delight Plus with white light LED glasses, best light and sound mind machines for brain training, meditation, yada yada, whoopty woo, array, say, Mind Place Pro Kion AVS system, light and sound meditation mind. So we will look at this. It is at Amazon here. And guys, what am I telling you? What are you seeing? How much does that look like a good old 1980s Walkman to you? Because it certainly doesn't look that dissimilar to me. And again, glasses were a very popular thing. I wear my sunglasses at night. Back in the 1980s, many people wore sunglasses along with their Walkmans. However, it is currently unavailable, but you can see some similar items if you desire, and here is a bunch of them at the bottom. Some of those look a little bit more like MP3 players than they do Walkmans, but I did want to show you that one because seriously, tell me that isn't a Walkman. It also looks a little bit like it could be Soundwave from the Transformers, the color scheme. But that's it, guys. Let's just go back and look just how many more results. Look, you can go over to YouTube there and watch the best mind machines in 2020, 2019. So these things have been around for a while. And were they around long before they were made popular on online shopping sites? Were they, unbeknownst to us, devices that we already had back in the 1980s? And were they, in fact, mind control machines in disguise of tape players? But as you can see, there's an awful lot on brain machines there if you want to search more on your own. So that is it, guys. This concludes Weaponized Walkmans. Hopefully you found it informative, enjoyable, and entertaining.
Grafton, do you like Grafton?
Hi, everyone.
Hello. How'd you do?
I'm a disc jockey.
Wickedness knows no bounds. By the power of Castle Grayskull.
Welcome, Tommy.
You say stuck in the 80s?
All systems go, Michael.
Mix that up.
No introduction is really needed.
80s.
No doubt, no doubt.
In the 80s, in the 80s.
Everybody say, huh? What? Take it back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The year is 1980.
1,
1980.
2,
1980.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Your DJ.
Power up to down.
We'll start the music again. Ready?
I know you're gonna dig this.
Come on, buddy. Get with the beat. I don't know what you mean. Get with the beat. I'm a little rusty on it. Don't touch that.
I know you're gonna dig this.
Dig this.
Number 5 is alive.
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence.
We're cutting it up. Cutting it up. Rap.
Like this. Like this.
That shit didn't make any sense at all. The scratching was off. Like, the beat you picked don't even make sense with the scratches. Fuck you was thinking about?
Freeze. It's that horrifyingly helpful hound. Scooby-Doo, do.
Vision, dreams of passion. And all the while I think of you. A very strange reaction. The more I see, the more I do. Baby. Tell your body to come along, but white lines. Can't you see I'm burning?
You understand?
Video production presents Reality Decoded 80s.
Something very important I forgot to tell you. What? Don't cross the streams. Why? It would be bad.
I'm fuzzy on the whole good-bad thing. What do you mean bad?
Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
That's bad. Okay. All right, important safety tip. Thanks, Ethan.
You're nothing but unorganized, grab-asking piece of
shit.
That's better. Now then, before we're through tonight, everyone will know what Halloween should be. Scary!
You told me so.
Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert you. Never gonna make you cry, never gonna say goodbye. Never gonna tell a lie and hurt you. Here we go. Never gonna give, never gonna give. Never gonna give, never gonna give.
I am a cups of raspberry juice, my dude.
Hold it now. Hold it now. What does it all mean?
What do I want? Everybody in the street. Get down to the fucking beat. Big head.
10 years ago, a crack commando unit was sent to prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit. These men promptly escaped from a maximum security stockade to the Los Angeles underground. Today, still wanted by the government, they survive as soldiers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team.
Adamley.
Here.
Adamowski. Adamson.
Here.
Adler.
Here.
Anderson. Anderson.
Here.
Bueller. Bueller.
Sit, Ubu, sit. Good dog.
I saw it on a rerun.
What's a rerun?
Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes!
Hey, Luke. May the force be with you.
All right. Take care now. Bye-bye then.